Ouch!
You're listening to the Mystic Menagerie Podcast, your regular descent into the world of alternative entertainment, art, and culture. Bolt the door, light the fire, and pour yourself a glass of Virgin Rouge, and let your hosts, Dan Baines and Lord Freddie Valentine, guide you through the Stygian depths of your darkest delights. Warning. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the Mystic Menagerie Podcast. This is episode number 11 and today is the 22nd of July 2016. I'm Dan Baines and I'm here with my host Freddie Valentine. Hi Freddie.
Hello. Oh, what a lovely day it is today. We're double figures down at 11, legs 11 if it's bingo, wouldn't it?
Legs 11.
Yeah, binary. We're in binary month. This is now on the podcast, isn't it?
It is, and middle of summer. So we've kind of had to pick our days wisely when we're going to record because the Mystic Menagerie Mansion's up in the attic where we do the recording gets rather hot.
It is a bit too hot, and the thing is that sometimes, obviously, in the heat, you want to cool down. I've got this big fan here, but the budgies they get very hot, So I put the fan on them. So I'm sitting here sweltering while they're getting nice and cool. I think they're from Australia initially, so they should be more adaptable to the climate than I am, but they're not.
No. Well, yeah, I mean, I've got the kids are outside in the paddling pool at the moment, creating a bit of noise, splashing about. So if you hear any children in the background, it's not my Josef Fritzl style cage that I've got in the back. It's actually my own children outside playing.
That'd be a good place to do like a paranormal event, wouldn't it? The Fritzl house, I suppose they knocked it down, didn't they?
Probably, yeah. I don't know what they've done with it. It's kind of it's like there was the media frenzy, then it all went quiet, didn't it?
Yeah, they're about to make a film about it or a book or something like this at some point, aren't they?
Yeah, I unfortunately I went to Glastonbury last month, and you have to have a passport photograph on your Glastonbury tickets, so they can obviously match your ticket up with whoever has it, so you can't sell them to ticket touts. And unfortunately, I look like Josef Fritzl on my passport photo. I don't know what it is. It's kind of got a weird sort of. It's a cross between the Grinch and the Cat in the Hat. So my hair is kind of all spiky up in the air. And as I was leaving in and out of Glastonbury, I'd say to the people, I look like Josef Fritzl, and they'd look at me slightly gone out.
It's that bewildered look in his eyes, you know what I mean? I suppose the flash of the light, you know what I mean? I suppose flash of the light in a little photo booth, I suppose it's the same as a flashlight of standing in a police station and having a big sort of camera.
But it was almost physically as well. I look a bit like him. I might have to put a separated at birth picture up on the Mystic Menagerie Facebook page just so you can have a look. But it's a little bit eerie. I'm not proud of it either. I might have to do something to change my appearance.
Well, if anybody wants to have a Halloween party, wants to have a themed dungeon, and they want to have a Josef Fritzl themed party, you look like you could hire yourself out.
I could.
Money in that.
Yeah, I could come down twice a week and do nasty things to you.
Exactly, yeah. Could be a bit of a sadistic sort of like, people probably would pay for that though. Some sort of weird fetishy people probably would pay for that, sadly enough.
Yeah, I take that as a bit of a compliment actually, that people, you think people actually would actually pay for me to do horrible things to them. So
exactly, well, they paid Robbie Williams to sing to them. It's the same kind of thing. So
and Ed Sheeran.
Another form of torture. Ed Sheeran, it's another form of torture. Jeez. People are definitely sort of masochists these days, aren't they?
They certainly are. So let's get off the Josef Fritzl subject.
Yeah, 50 Shades of Fritzl was now finished. So
yeah, oh dear, I don't know. So we've got a fun-packed show lined up today. As it's summer, and everyone is out doing things and doing the touristy type thing, we thought it'd be a good month to cover theme parks and fairgrounds, which in themselves are quite creepy places.
Definitely. I mean, when they're abandoned, they're really weird. I think any sort of building where there used to be activity and fun, it was vibrant at one time. To see it as an empty shell. It's always quite eerie, sort of the ghosts of the past, you know what I mean? The people that enjoyed themselves there, and also the people maybe met there, fell in love, and then got married. All sorts of things happened, in those buildings. And to see them abandoned like that, it's very creepy. Yeah,
it's not even such as abandoned, but, even just when they're closed down for winter, if you go to, one of the places we are going to be covering later on in the Paranormal Corner is Alton Towers, but you can go in there when the actual park is shut, so you can walk around the grounds and the house. So, and you see all of the roller coasters covered up and all the mannequins and bits and bobs lying around that would normally be bustling throughout summer are just dead, and it's quiet, and it's an eerie place to be when it's closed down.
Yeah, in a place like that, and if you go to seaside towns, the same sort of thing, where there's like a closed up fairground and arcades were boarded up. Do you know what I mean? No activity there. It's almost like there's been some sort of zombie apocalypse. Everybody's been wiped out by some virus, and there's just nobody about. It's like a ghost town. It's a very, very eerie feeling, these sort of places. Because I was saying to you the other day about there's a film, 50s or 60s, called Carnival Souls.
Yeah, I remember
black and white. Yeah, and that's got like an abandoned fairground in it. And his ghost story, she gets drawn towards this fairground. This girl, she's in like an accident at the start. She falls in a lake in a car, has a car crash, wanders out bewildered, and gets drawn by this strange man to this fairground. And in this fairground, it's abandoned, but there's always ghosts like ballroom dancing and stuff like this. It's a very strange film, but it's so eerie. I think the fact it was an abandoned fairground made it even more weirder, more creepier.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure it's one of those films that I've staggered back from the pub as a 16-year-old and put on Channel 4 at 1 o'clock in the morning with the TV turned down really low so not to wake my mum and dad up. And I'm pretty sure I've watched it. It's very hazy. I remember a blonde lady in it, and it was black and white.
That's right. That's right, yeah. And there's a weird bloke. He looks a bit like Klaus Nomi. Do you know what I mean? Like a clown, sort of white face and spiky. A mixture of a Razorhead, Jack Nance from Razorhead, and Klaus Nomi.
Okay, a bit like the Judder Man off the Judder advert type thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's that sort of thing. He's got this really creepy face, and he floats in the window of a car. She gets in this really strange bloke, and he's quite creepy looking himself. But yeah, it's a very bizarre, and the music's really good. It's like theremin sounds and stuff like that, as these 60s, late 50s, 60s films had.
Yeah,
there's a really good soundtrack to it, but it's an eerie feel. Black and white tends to be eerier, but again, the abandoned fairground has just made it a little more creepier.
Yeah, so we've got later on in the show we have got quite a lot of interesting things to talk about, especially about theme parks and some of the horrific things you'll find there, or things that have happened in the past. We've also got an interview with Nick Stead, who is the author of Hybrid, which is a new werewolf novel. He actually came to Doomsday, although I didn't really get a chance to talk to him, purely because it was so busy. And when you're the event organizer, everyone wants a slice of your time, and you just find yourself not talking to enough people. It's bit of a nightmare. So I interviewed him earlier on today, so I actually had the chance to sit down and have a chat with him, so that's quite interesting. And so our reviews that we kind of asked you to, if you had the time last month, if you had the time to go and give us a nice 5-star review on iTunes. We've actually got 14 now, so we've had 4 more since the last show, which is good.
Brilliant. And keep the reviews coming. We really appreciate the reviews coming in.
Yeah, we won't do a prize draw this month, but what we'll do is we'll definitely do one next month. If you want to go and leave us a review and want to be in with a chance of winning a prize, something I can dig out of the studio, something horrible, doesn't matter where you are, I'll ship globally. So even if you're in the US or Australia or further afield, drop us a review on iTunes, and preferably a 5-star one. We'll stick you in the hat, and you could be in with a chance of winning a very cool prize.
Fantastic, and that's keep the reviews. Could do me a lot. We do, we want the reviews. Want to get the popularity of the show up. You want to get a presence on iTunes. So the more you review us, the more even just a few words or nice reviews, obviously. It all helps us, and it all keeps the podcast flowing and makes us very happy, doesn't it? Then
it does. I mean, we are creeping up the charts. the best way to see where you are in the ratings is you go onto iTunes, and then if you look at the category that you're in, so the Mystic Menagerie falls under visual arts. I was toying about which category to actually put us in when I started the podcast, because it kind of covers such a broad area of a broad range of subjects. So we cover everything, obviously, from the paranormal to films and TV, and so it was really difficult to know where to pitch us. So I went with visual arts as our main sort of background is sort of magic, performance, etc. Is those crisps?
No.
What is it? Is it your knuckles?
It's my knuckles, yeah, in the background, yeah.
You're limbering up.
I haven't got any crisps there, unfortunately, do you know what I mean? So I'm a bit hungry. I had something to eat earlier on, so
yeah.
My belly's a bit full.
Yeah, so anyway, as I was saying, to get to find out where you are, you go to the category that you're in, which is, for us, is visual arts, and then you can look at what's hottest, I think it's called, and then all you've got to do is scroll down and count how many podcasts there are previous to where you appear. So we're actually at about 120 in the iTunes visual art charts at the moment. So
that's
not too bad.
No, and if you can put some more reviews in there, get us up in the top 100. You know what I mean? Get us in there with a bullet. You know, that's what we'd like. We'd appreciate that. You know, if people could just put a little review on there. I know it's just a few minutes of your time, but it's time that we would appreciate. So it just gets the sponsors at the charts. You know what I mean? We're going to be up there. Hopefully, get to number one spot eventually if we keep.
Well, that's top 100 in global terms, which is what you're talking about when you have iTunes. It's not like you're a top 100 in the charts in the 80s in the UK. You know, you're not like Hazy Fantasy and at number 98 in the charts. It's on a global level, being in the top 100 is, I think, is quite an achievement, especially if you look at what other podcasts you've got in the visual arts section. You know, you've got all the computer games, all the film reviews. So having something that's a little bit sort of left of field like us in the top 100, I think, is a great achievement.
Yeah, to have a presence there, you know what I mean? So, you know, we will be the sort of the spokesman for the weird, the unusual, the freaks, the outcasts, the oddballs. So, you know, we will, we want to make our presence known amongst all the other things in the world.
That's it. And, you know, we couldn't do it without our patrons. Or patrons via Patreon, should I say.
Our Patreon patrons.
That's it. So
Patron.
We've got 25 patrons, and they're all members of the Inner Sanctum. So they, every month, as well as getting our show, they also get exclusive content. So this will be from either, in the past we've had lectures, talks. This month we've actually got a bit of a change this time. It is a video tutorial on how to age documents and photographs, done by myself, and not a single tea bag was harmed in the process of making this video.
Fabulous. And that's the sort of tutorial that people would pay a lot of money for usually to learn something like that, because it's not something you can come by every day. So if you are one of our patrons, matron. Hold on, stop me, if you're one of our patrons, then you'll get some fantastic things which normally people would buy, but you cannot buy these things because they are not for sale. They're only for our patrons. And also they're not only they're exclusive, you know, they're also things that people. Only you will have these, and it's also not expensive either. To become a patron and receive these extra lectures and information and videos, you're not really paying much for them.
No, it's $15. $15 a month, or $15 per show will get you the exclusive content, and for every month that you remain a patron, you can request a free copy of any of the back issues of the Mystic Menagerie magazine, which were originally £4, which in dollars is about $7. So for the additional $8, you're getting also exclusive content that only at the moment 25 people are getting. So if you want to be the 26th or the 27th, you just need to go to patreon.com and type in the Mystic Menagerie and become a patron. And as I say, you'll get access to this month's content, which is a video tutorial on aging documents and photographs, which if you are a bizarre performer, or even just a mentalist or a magician or a prop designer, everyone wants to know how to make old-looking documents.
Yeah, definitely. And some of the lectures we've had in the previous ones, normally people pay sort of 30, 40 quid for like a recording or a DVD or a lecture. They go for a lot of money, even just books based on lectures, lecture notes and stuff like that. So for that price, which isn't really much at all, you're getting some very valuable stuff and very solid. You're getting lectures you don't normally hear, you're getting information, you're getting tutorials, stuff that normally people pay a lot of money for. So not only do you get the show, you get this extra content as well. So yeah, if you're thinking about it or you're wavering, give it a go. Have a listen. If you're interested in this exclusive material, no one else will have this except for you, the patrons. So it's well worth checking out. Yeah,
and we're also going to give discounted tickets out for Doomsday North in Whitby and Doomsday South in London, which we'll talk about more during Our Bizarre Life. But if you are a supporter of the Mystic Menagerie via Patreon, then you will be eligible for discounted tickets to these events. So another reason to support us and get lots of free things.
And these are going to sell out, these events. They're going to be big events.
Yeah.
Doomsday North. It's been going for years, isn't it? It's been going for years to North, And it's a well-established event. And Doomsday South is going to be quite a spectacular event. Some of the things that are planned for it, which we can't say about at the moment, but it's going to be a very spectacular event.
Yeah, we've got 3 big names at least, semi-confirmed. We're just waiting for the green light on them, but even one of those names is big enough to warrant the ticket price. But we'll talk about it more in Our Bizarre Life. But it's very exciting. And so, as I say, we've got a great show lined up. Lots of interesting things for you to while the summer months away too. So grab yourself a Pimm's and lemonade, and we'll be back after the break.
Carnival of Souls arouses such emotion that the management has been forced to state positively no refunds. Carnival of Souls is the shocker of all time, guaranteed to sweep you into a new dimension of picture making. You can't afford to miss Carnival of Souls.
Welcome back, and it's time for Our Bizarre Life, because both myself and Dan lead very bizarre lives, and it's where we tell you about what we've been up to, the sort of strange things in our world that we get up to. And what have you up to, Dan, last month? What sort of strange things and unusual and exciting things have happened to you?
Well, I would say I've been kind of really sort of working all hours in the studio at the moment. It's surprisingly busy for summer. For me, usually summer is my quietest period. It's the time when my clients who give me commissions and buy my things aren't really doing stuff, because sometimes as a bizarre and paranormal entertainer, it's seasonal work. It kind of works better when it's autumn and winter. So in the past, it's always been quieter, but this year has been the busiest sort of June, July I've had. So at the moment, I've got I'm actually making a Fiji mermaid at the moment. Anyone who's had a look at my Facebook page or been on the Mystic Menagerie website and the Lebanon Circle site will see that I'll make Fiji mermaids. And this is a different one that I've not done before. It's actually a vertically mounted one. So it's in a display cabinet, and it's kind of, its tail's curled round, and it's sort of on, it's in a vertical position, essentially. I'll stick some pictures on the Mystic Menagerie Facebook page for people to look at, but it's in a really retro cabinet, which is all, I've installed lots of LED lighting inside, so you can have it lit up at night, and it looks it looks very eerie, in fact. So that's one project I've been knocking out, and I'm delivering that on Saturday.
Brilliant. Fiji mermaids are quite scarce in the UK, exhibition-wise. The only two that I remember seeing is one at Ripley's, believe it or not, in Piccadilly. Yeah. And of course, was it Braiding Waxworks had one in the Isle of Wight, didn't they?
They did, yeah. Yeah, they are a rarity. You don't see them about at all, really. You get the odd person who makes one, and as far as I know, though, I'm the only one who makes them regularly. So I'll say regularly. Though I've made 4 in the last 12 months. So they've They're quite pricey, and they go to sort of high-profile clients. So they're not things I make on a regular basis. But yeah, you don't see them around. But if you think about one thing I've thought, obviously living relatively close to the coast, I just thought they would be a great thing for generating a bit of income for charities.
Definitely, yeah, I'd have thought so.
Yeah, so last year I made a Fiji mermaid, and I approached the Fisherman's Museum down in Hastings and asked them if they wanted to exhibit it over summer and just, put maybe like a curtain around it and charge people 50p to have a look at it. And I basically said, you could have it for the whole of the summer, and whatever money it makes, you can keep. What have you got to lose? And they didn't want it because it didn't fit in with the rest of the theme of the museum.
Oh, it's ridiculous, isn't it? There was one museum that did do it, a naval museum. I can't remember where it was now. I think it was Mont North. It might even be Whitby, actually, where they had a naval museum and they had like an exhibit. It was like a Fiji mermaid. You had to guess what the creature was. Yeah. So people had to write on a slip of paper what they thought it was, like in a book, I think it was. And they printed all the descriptions of what people thought it was. And I think they paid like 50p to look at it or something like this, but it did very well, So I was surprised they didn't take it on. But some people, they haven't got much imagination, you know what I mean? They stick to what they know rather than try something different out.
Well, I'm going to give it another go because there's a wonderful shop opened in Hastings on George Street called Butler and George, and it is full of everything that we would love. There is shrunken heads, lots of medical equipment, lots of freaky stuff, headhunter skulls, strange skeletons, dome jars. It is essentially a curio and freak store. And I've been talking with the owners there, and I said, well, if I make you a Fiji mermaid and just put it in the shop, and until someone buys it, you could have it as a little exhibit that people can put money in. The curtains will open, they can see the mermaid for a certain fee, and it generates a bit of income for the shop. And then obviously someone's going to come along one day and say, well, I'll buy that, and then I'll take the money and maybe make them another one, see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
It's free advertising for me, and it means they make a bit of extra money on the side, or they can give it to a charity, which I prefer, to be honest. As long as it's a good charity. Nothing to do with cats. If it's Cats Protection League, I'm afraid I'd rather fund terrorism than give cats my money, I'm afraid.
You don't like cats, no?
Oh, no. Don't even get me started.
You've not got a fear of them, a phobia of them?
No. It's a pure hatred.
Ah, yeah, I knew someone who had a fear of cats, and if you even saw a picture of a cat, she got a panic attack.
No, this is... it goes deep within my psyche. I can't trace where it came from, but if I see one, I get like a killer tingle inside my chest, which I can only assume like what serial killers must get before they do go in for the kill. Yeah,
maybe it's something to do with Andrew Lloyd Webber. Maybe you was, as a child, you was taking to see cats. It's so tedious that you hated cats the rest of your life. You ought to get up on that stage and tear Mr. Mustopheles' head from his shoulders. Yeah. While he's walking, or Elaine Page while she's warbling Memory dressed as a giant cat. But maybe that's what it was. Yeah, cats. Honestly, put it this way: when I was in my single dating days, I could have dated the most beautiful woman in the world. Obviously, I married the most beautiful woman in the world, which is my wife. But previous to that, had I met another beautiful woman and she said, "Do you want to come back to my place?" and I said yes, and if I'd opened the front door and there was a cat in there, I would have left. Yeah, I'm sort of similar about dogs. I don't hate them, but I wouldn't have a dog. You know, I think the reason why is when I was a kid, I got attacked very brutally by a dog. Yeah, it was like a bull mastiff. I remember there was I had a rabbit in a cage, there's the mesh things in the front of the hutch, and this dog is like a stray mad dog. Yeah, was running around, and it tried to kill the rabbit. It teared the mesh. So I climbed over the hutch to try to protect the rabbit, and it sort of clawed at my back. There's blood chunks coming out of my back, everything. Jeez. Blood everywhere. And then the rabbit died of a heart attack anyway. So after that, I don't trust dogs. They're like people that are a bit crazy. They can be nice, but they can suddenly turn on you. You know, like them blokes you get in the pub and he's a bit pissed, he's all your mate, and suddenly he can turn very nasty on you.
Yeah, yeah.
Dogs are like them sort of people.
Nice Frank, nasty Frank, that type of...
Yeah. Oh, mate, you're my best mate. What you fucking looking at? It's that kind of, you know, they can just switch like that. And dogs are like that. They can be your mate 1 minute, and next minute they can tear your face off. Dogs and wasps are the only ones that are sort of wary of animals. Other than that, chimps, tigers, they don't bother me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's cats for me. But as I say, I could talk about my despise of cats probably for the duration of the show. But I'm not going to.
And cats, they're quite funny because they're the only pet you can put silly outfits on, and they look really pissed off with it, and it becomes amusing.
They've got no expression. They're vanilla. They've got no expression.
They can look pissed off. You get a cat, put a silly hat on it, and laugh at it, and then you'll see its expression change to this really angry, sort of embarrassed, humiliated look on its face. Yeah. That's the thing to do if you're hatred of cats. You want to humiliate them rather than hurt them, is to put little hats on them.
Yeah, but they can't. They know that I hate them, so they just look at me and run off. So I can never catch one to dress it up.
Maybe, yeah. Or maybe you get someone you know who likes cats, you know, to call one over and then just put a hat on it, a silly hat, and they look really humiliated. Because we had a cat once, and it's Christmas once. I think we've got these antlers, but they were it's like a hat thing, the elastic around its neck, and they had big antlers on there. Yeah. And there's a picture of him. He looks so embarrassed, so unhappy about it. You know, like he's been forced to do something he doesn't like. Like a kid in a school play, he's been forced to wear a silly outfit, and is embarrassed. So they do suffer embarrassment. So embarrassing cats could be like a hobby.
It could. I think I've got other ones I prefer to do though. But if I'm ever short of a hobby, I'll
embarrass cats. Yeah, you could
consider it.
On these Christmas books that they used to sell in shops, embarrassed cats photographs. People buy that sort of stuff and put it out for a tenner.
They do. People buy any shit with cats on.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I mean, cats
buy cats for a start, which I find quite difficult to get my head around. But the fact that they buy books with cats in, or calendars with cats on, and share pictures of cats on Facebook—that's the one that really, really, people who share ISIS news and cat pictures, they get an instant defriend, unfollow, unblock off me.
It's worse when people stick up for things like ISIS, though, which they do. I've seen that on Facebook. That kind of infuriates me.
Yeah, I've never seen any of that because I kind of just filter all of that out.
Get them out,
yeah. So,
and it's strange because what's really strange about is the name ISIS. Obviously, going back to the Egyptian times, there's a lot of shops and things around with that name on it. There's even like an ISIS beauty salon near where I live. Which it's got an Egyptian eye of Horus on the sign. So at the time it's quite mystical and Egyptian. Now you think terrorists go in there to get their eyebrows plucked or whatever, tan. It's changed the whole the meaning of the word.
Yeah, there's the hotel. That's Ibis.
Ibis, yeah.
Ibis, close. But in terms of things I've been off the subject of cats and ISIS, here's one for the magicians out there. I did a commission of an Astro Ball box. So anyone who's not a magician, who's not familiar with what an Astro Ball box is, it's essentially a box that you open up. This is completely black inside. You put a wine glass in it and a ball, and then you close the box. When you open it again, the ball is inside the glass. So it's usually pitched as a kind of haunted box type thing, isn't it, Freddie?
Yeah, that sort of thing it is. Yeah, it's quite an old thing, isn't it? It
is old. But they're always, the ones that you buy have always got a bit of an oriental vibe about them. The handle's got dragons on. They're done in a nice lacquered red or black box. With gold ornamentation around the side. So with this one, I actually built it completely out of antique and reclaimed materials. So it looks ancient. It probably looks sort of early 1800s type box. But I added a few extra little bits to it as well. So it's got a spirit bell that goes in it as well. So once you've done the typical sponge ball into glass routine, you can take that out, and then there's just a simple little bell on a stand that you put inside, close the box, and then the bell inside rings back in answer to questions. And it's all, you can inspect it if you really wanted to let people do that. And It also, there's a plaster cast of a hand as well. Are you familiar? You know what pseudopods are, don't you?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so a pseudopod is essentially a It's a cast of a spirit hand. They used to put a bowl of hot wax in the middle of the table when they did a seance and turn the lights out, and then once the seance had been conducted, they'd put the lights back on, and the spirit will have left a cast of its hand in wax. And then you could pour plaster in it, and you would get a plaster cast of a spirit hand. So you'd essentially get a memento of the spirit you'd contacted, or a plaster cast of their hand. So with this Astro Ball box, I actually got one of my children and did a hand cast in alginate of a cupped hand. And what you do is you put the plaster cast of the hand inside the Astro Ball box, and you can do it with tarot cards, but if you're general public, it works okay with normal playing cards. But you would get a member of the public to select and sign a card, put it into the middle of the deck, and close the box. And when you open the box, the card that they signed is actually in the plaster cast hand. So that works quite nicely. It's bridges the gap between bog standard magic and a little bit sort of into spirit theatre.
Yeah,
I think Dan Brown actually used an Astro Ball box on one of his tours. It might have been Enigma. It literally did just the bog standard ball into glass routine. But the public aren't really aware of it. They've not really seen the Astro Ball routine.
No, it's not performed much now, is it, really?
It's not, no. So, but I will be putting pictures of that up on the Lebanon Circle site and my Facebook page, because it, as I say, it looks really great, and it's made completely out of antique materials. So if you were to date it, you would date it around the period, early 1800s probably.
Excellent. That sounds very good.
Yeah, and the only other weird thing I did, I wouldn't say it was weird, but it was definitely a weird experience in places, was the Glastonbury Festival. So
yeah, it can be quite strange, can't it?
Yeah, for American listeners, Glastonbury is probably one of the world's biggest music festivals. So it's a 5-day event, and bands play. Well, I say bands. Some bands play, and then some completely fabricated crap bands play, like Kanye West and who else? I can't remember any of the crap ones, but it was good anyway. But the place is huge. I mean, I know you said you went quite a long time ago, didn't you?
Yeah, 80s, 90s I went, yeah.
Yeah, well, over the weekend, me and my wife clocked up over 40 miles walking. We had the Fitbit wristband things on that tell you how far you walked. 40 miles. I mean, on the Saturday, we walked 16 miles just walking from stage to stage.
That's mad, isn't it? You don't realise it's like when you're on holiday, you don't realise how much walking you do. It's probably the best exercise, to be fair.
Yeah, I was drinking all day as well, non-stop. I was drinking Jägermeister, tequila. I wasn't even pissed because I was walking so bloody far and it was so hot.
No, and it's quite watery, the beer at Asia festivals, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I actually took my own. I took a bottle of Jägermeister and stuck it in a little hip flask. So I was drinking that most of the day. But yeah, didn't really touch the sides, didn't really get drunk. But we experienced all of the usual, the hippie type stuff, the healing fields and the stone circle. Watched a bit of strange sort of hippie spoken word with a bonfire going, and it was all a bit Wicker Man. It was good.
Yeah, it was good fun. These hippie things are always good fun, you know what I mean? It's massive. There's so many strange things you can stumble across there, There's all sorts of tents and stuff like that there.
Yeah, lots of sort of naked people walking around, and middle-aged women doing mushrooms, and
all out their heads.
Sorry,
all out their heads, most of them.
All that, yeah. So it was great, and it was an experience. I think I'll go back next year if I can get tickets. Expensive, but good fun, and something you need to experience at least once in your life, I think.
Definitely. It's a long time ago when I went. Yeah, it's quite a crazy experience. I went in the 80s, 90s. There's a lot of these new age travellers, and they're all like, there's a fence. And I think now it's more organised, but they bash down a fence at the side and all climb through it and get in for free.
Yeah.
Set up their tent, so there's full of all these people. Oh, mate, you got a spare change? You got a wristlet with you, mate? Hey, mate, you ain't got a spare fag? Oh, you got a spare beer? There's a lot of that going on when I went. I think it's changed now.
Oh, I tell you what, the security is so tight. You have to sort of go through 3 phases of security before you get in, and then they've got the huge. It's almost like a prison fence. It looks like. It's almost sci-fi. You think what they'd put around a city if you're trying to keep like zombies out or something. There's like
Mega City 1 or something.
Yeah, huge metal fences. And if you manage to scale that one, there's actually a secondary fence as well. So there's 2 layers of fencing all the way around the whole site. I mean, I'm sure people do get in. I noticed a few ways you could potentially get in. But obviously I didn't try them out because I had a ticket and I was going to go through. But if I was desperate to get in, I'm pretty sure I'd be able to get in. But
it's harder now, I think, than it used to be. But they'll always find a way. Yeah,
well, you get spot checked with your wristbands even when you're in there. You know, there's people walking around saying, "Have you got your wristband?" And you have to show them even when you're in. Yeah. So if you haven't got it, they'll just kick you straight out.
Oh, yeah, because it started as a free festival in the field. It's free to turn up, and they had Mark Bolan and David Bowie on there.
Yeah, it was £1, wasn't it? And then you got free bottle of milk or something. Yeah, free milk and £1 to get in.
And Tyrannosaurus Rex on there and David Bowie.
Yeah. So, now it's no free milk and £230 to get in. So,
well, funny enough, I saw a programme on TV. This is about sort of 5-6 years ago, and they took people that are unlikely to Glastonbury. And like they get an odd couple of people who don't get on and take them to Glastonbury. And there was Billy Bragg, who's obviously a well-known socialist left-wing singer, and Boris Johnson, the Mayor of London. And Billy Bragg was going, "Look at these people, look at them. This is what socialism's all about. These people are all sitting there, they're all uniting, all colours and races, all sitting together. Everyone's having a good time. There's no barriers here. Everyone's having a good time. This is socialism at work." And then Boris replied, "It's capitalism at work. They all pay 230 quid to get in."
Oh, yeah.
So they was kind of right, you know. But yeah, no, it's an amazing festival. I think because it's more organised now, it's a lot safer than it was when I went.
Yeah,
there's an element of danger there because at the end of the festival, the New Age travellers that came, they didn't want to leave the site.
No,
and apparently they drove a van over loads of tents. There could have been people in them, you know.
Yeah,
and people's pots and pans and whatever they had never got mangled up. But yeah, it's quite a mad in the 80s, I think, and it was wild. But I think now at least it's a bit safer than it was then.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I say, I saw lots of good bands play. Kanye West was on. I went and watched Deadmau5 instead. So
you get a bottle of piss for Kanye though. I mean, that would have been funny.
I've been bottling it up for months, and I got it all taken off me when I went in because I wasn't allowed liquids.
I'm super soaker, and I think talking of bottles of piss. I mean, I saw in the 80s. I went to Reading Festival, and I saw both Meatloaf and Bonnie Tyler get bottled off with bottles of piss.
Yeah.
And Starship, we built this city. They refused to go on, but the headline act was Iggy Pop. And when he came on, he climbed on top of the speakers at the start of the stage. He said, "You can throw whatever you want. You can throw bottles of piss, toilet rolls. I don't care. I've had glass thrown at me. I've had knives thrown at me. I've got scars over my chest. Get out of the way. Throw it all at me now, and then we get on with the show."
Yeah.
And they just cheered him. They just threw stuff at him. He climbed down the speaker and just carried on and did the show.
Yeah.
And he's the only one that could handle it.
Yeah, definitely. I can't imagine Starship handling bottles of piss being thrown at him.
No, I couldn't handle it. Meatloaf nearly cried, you know what I mean? He got the ump about it, and Bonnie Tyler, Kanye West, I don't know how he'd handle it. It'd knock his ego, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, don't even get me started. He falls into the cat category with me. Yeah.
I mean, cats I like, but Kanye West, I draw the line. Him, his wife's got more. His wife's arse has got more talent than he has.
Yeah,
and that's just by being a big arse. But he's a big arse himself, but she's got a big arse. He's got 2 big arses, really.
Yes, yeah. I can't say I've ever. Is it Kim Kardashian? Is it? Am I right in thinking?
That's right. Yeah, I don't even know what she's famous for. I heard her name mentioned.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I just don't know what she's famous for. Just for being famous, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm sure I've spied her in one of my wife's sort of junk gossip magazines lying around.
It was mentioned on TV, because I was on TV a while ago, and I was briefed before it was live TV. It said, we're going to talk about Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, and I said, I don't know who they are. I had to go Google them. I said, I've got to talk about them. I don't know who they are. So I had to Google them. That's what they're famous for, and then talk about them then. But I didn't have a clue who they were talking about.
Not famous for much.
Yeah, if there's something like Rulensko and Dennis Waterman, I'd know they were talking about.
Yeah. So, but other than Glastonbury then, and being busy in the studio, the Doomsday tickets finally launched for 2016. So, if you go to the Lebanon Circle website, lebanonsircle.co.uk, and look under events, you'll see that the tickets have been released for Doomsday in Whitby, which is in May, and the Doomsday South, which is Doomsday by Gaslight, which is down in London in November 2016. And we're actually having it now at Simon Drake's House of Magic in the daytime. So there'll be food and entertainment all day long, followed by social in the evening. And previous to that, on the Friday night, we've got Tracy Wise, who usually does the crime scene illusion show. She actually does an official Jack the Ripper tour in London. So she's doing one exclusively for us on the Friday night.
Oh, fabulous. That's excellent.
Yeah, which is great. And she actually does a little bit of sort of bizarre magic on the way round as well. So that should be good for all of our, if we've got any international people coming over. I mean, you'd pay £15 alone to go on to go on a Jack the Ripper walk. So it's £45 for the London one. But that covers both Friday and Saturday, plus refreshments and lunch at Simon Drake's. So I think it's a pretty good price for what you're going to get. And as we said previously, the guests that we've got lined up are going to be well worth the money. But we can't announce those until we've got a confirmed booking from them. So, but watch this space. But the Whitby one in May, that'll be Doomsday 7. Or 7DD, as we like to abbreviate it for our American friends. It's a bit too, obviously it's easier to abbreviate everything. So 7DD, obviously my favourite bra size, and also the seventh Doomsday. We've already got Brian Maxwell lined up. He's going to do his psychic sausage routine. Not one for the kids. But
I've heard that show's not for the kids. That's often.
It's definitely not. No, so there's the psychic sausage, and I'm also already taking bookings for that. Tickets have sold already. So it's all looking good for.
It's looking great, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, 45 quid's actually cheap, it's because if you think about it, I mean, I was looking at tickets for Morrissey recently, right? And this is someone performing for 2 hours, at the, where was it? I think it was at the, Hammersmith, 75 quid.
Yeah.
And that's the shit seats, and the good seats are probably 100 something quid. I remember like Rolling Stones a few years ago, asking ridiculous amounts of money, and we've got, Doomsday's got some big names on it, in the Doomsday South as well, or South.
South.
And it's a whole day, a whole day, and you've got the Ripper Walk. There's so much. Yeah, for the value, I think. You could say, it sounds, but it's not really expensive when you consider the price of things these days. In the context of things these days, how much things cost generally. Yeah, it's actually a very cheap price for what you're getting. You're getting tons.
It is, and the venue itself is, Simon Drake's place is perfect for Doomsday. It is like literally being sat in the house from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's
fantastic.
Very gothic, very opulent. Got a proper stage, projection screen. So I think David Chaudroy is going to do a talk on Bad Acid, and we're also going to get an exclusive screening of Bad Acid as well, which will be excellent.
I'm looking forward to seeing Bad Acid. It sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be wonderful. We've had a few sneak peeks. And David's been sending through, and it looks amazing. So
it does, yeah, it's brilliant. And I'm really, you're going to get a film, you get top names. There's so much you're going to be getting this weekend. It's going to be fantastic, good fun.
And you'll get to meet both Freddie and myself.
Yeah, we're both going to be there. So if you want to have a chat with us and put the faces to the voices, and I'll see if we've got a face for radio or not. You can find out.
Yeah, I'd like to think we're worth the £45 alone.
Definitely. And I'm a recluse anyway, so for me to come out and it's quite rare. So so it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a great time. And Simon Drake's the perfect venue for it.
It is.
If you're going to something that's more neon lights and very glitzy, it wouldn't fit the vibe of it. It's got to be creepy.
Yeah, it has. It's going to be good. So that's pretty much all I've been up to. It's not been that Well, it's been relatively bizarre, but not as bizarre as it has been in the past. But as I say, it's summer, and being all gothic and weird when it's like 35 degrees outside can be quite difficult sometimes. So
it can, but you feel like you're the Incredible Melting Man sometimes, because it's weird. I mean, for people that our American listeners, you're probably used to warm weather, and it's summer. It's summer. That's simple as that. It's warm every single day. You can go out in your Hawaiian shirt and your t-shirts and strut around. In England, in the UK, you don't know what you're going to get. It's real sort of like temperamental weather. You could go out one day, be sitting on the beach, sunbathing, blistering hot. You think you're in the south of France. Another day you go out, it could be pissing down with rain, grey skies, and windy.
Yeah.
And that can be the next day. It can change. 1 minute. One morning I went out once. It's summer. It's boiling hot in the summer. I thought, great, I was going to go to town, put a nice Hawaiian shirt on and all this kind of stuff. Started out on the train. On the way back, it was hailstones.
That's it. It's strange.
That's the UK for you.
It's so like Revels. You don't know what you're going to get out of the bag.
Exactly. Yeah.
Most days it's a coffee day. It's a coffee chocolate day, which is pretty grim. But
it always confused me when you got Forrest Gump said life's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get. Well, there's like a picture on top of the box that tells you what they are.
There is, but Forrest Gump can't read.
I suppose he's a
bit special, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one of them.
Yeah,
a bit of a
But then his mum told him that, so his mum must be illiterate as well.
The whole family must have come from a whole family of idiots, really.
Yeah, well, I think it's a genetic thing. It must run in the family. I mean, you don't have a kid like that, without sleeping at least with one member of your close family.
No, definitely. And a goat somewhere along the lines as well, I
think. Black sheep. Yeah. So what have you been up to, Freddie, that's bizarre?
Lots of bizarre things. Well, it's been quite strange. I mean, I've been doing those the events I do, and I've been giving readings and working at different psychic events and ghost nights and stuff like that. They're always strange. They're always bizarre. To me, it's normal. To me, it's not a normal job. It's like someone who would go to an office. To me, giving readings or going to a strange event or a séance is just day to day for me. But I had a break this year. I went to the Isle of Wight. I mean, that's one of my favourite places. We've both discussed this before.
Yeah.
I went to the Isle of Wight, and we stayed in this very nice old Victorian place right by the Shanklin Chine. It's a lot of ghost stories on the Isle of Wight. We found this weird psychic shop there that's opened. They did readings and crystals and that in there. But the woman that ran it was like an artist, like a painter. And she had all these really strange paintings in there. They were very abstract kind of paintings of like angels and stuff like this. They were really good paintings. One of them was this like canvas, and she took it to the Isle of Wight festival and just got loads of people to come over and just add bits to this painting.
Yeah.
To express themselves. There's this really weird sort of mixture of images and stuff like that. It's just quite bizarre. So I've been looking at the Isle of Wight because eventually I'd like to move somewhere like that. And there is quite a lot of ghost walks and stuff like that and haunted buildings there.
As a recluse, the Isle of Wight would be ideal for you.
I'd be happy walking around model villages and going to tea shops and then doing seances in the evening. That'd be a perfect.
I can see the attraction to that. Plus, the only way to get to you is like hovercraft or ferry.
A ferry, exactly. Yeah, it's almost like being on the Wicker Man Island. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Lord Summerisle. It'd be great to do that. You could just wander around. The tea shops are really good there. It's like going back to the 1950s. Around like in Berkshire where I live, if I want to go to like a country pub and have a ploughman's lunch, it's almost impossible. It's all this Thai food and crap like that. And I want to have a proper just a ploughman's lunch. That's all I want. Big chunky bit of cheese, nice bit of bread. Pickled onion. They don't do it. But on the Isle of Wight, you can get all that.
Yeah,
you can have afternoon tea. You can have jam and scones and stuff like this. How English am I? You know what I mean? And then I like going to model villages as well because I feel like a giant when I'm at model village. You can walk around and you feel like a giant. So may open my own model village one day, a spooky fiend one of all the sort of macabre murder locations of the world and asylums put down in model form.
Joseph Fritzl's back garden in miniature.
There's Fritzl's house over there, do you know what I mean? There's 25 Cromwell Street, there's the Ed Gein residence over there.
Yeah.
You could recreate all these horrific scenes,
Yeah.
It would be quite, a macabre model village would be quite an interesting concept, I think.
Yeah, Freddie's macabre model village. Yeah,
be a giant amongst the serial killers. You know what I mean? And it would be good.
Bit of that crazy golf course sort of mixed into it as well. So you can sort of have a model village with a little crazy golf course going through it, and then a little sort of freak show sort of exhibit thing at the end, and a tea shop.
It wouldn't just be a crazy golf course; it'd be a psychopathic golf course.
Yeah.
Brutal things happen to you. Yeah, but it's quite. The idea of a model village would be quite a fun thing. I think I got something like that. But yeah, I was looking around. There's lots of these DVDs about the Ghost Island and the Ghost of the Island. Because there's lots of really old buildings there. There's loads of history there, and most of it's unchanged. So it's like when you go to sometimes they say you go to the Ripple location. Some of them look pretty much as they did in the photographs, and some of them are unrecognisable. But here, the buildings are all the same. There's a lot of Victorian buildings and stuff like that. And I bought this DVD off a while ago. I thought, this is called Ghost Island. It's all stories of the ghost of the Isle of Wight. But it was done. It's obviously filmed in the 80s, and it's also transferred from video.
Right.
And it had this real 80s graphics. You go to them schools educational programs. There's that music goes, and it's sort of CFAX type, fonts on the screen.
Yeah,
it's that kind of stuff. And the stories were quite funny. There's this bloke and he was fishing on the beach, and this shadowy figure kept walking backwards, up and down, and following him. And every night the shadowy figure was there, and this woman said she's seen it as well. But why was he a local pervert?
Yeah, it could be.
But the way it's done, it's a bit like it makes Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World look like it's a high tech program.
Right. Okay. So it's a bit of very homemade.
Very homemade, yeah, and it's very much the way it's done. It's very it's obviously done in the 80s and on sort of very basic equipment, but it's still quite intriguing. It's still quite intriguing. I mean, the history in the Isle of Wight, there's tons of history there, and a weird thing when we was coming back, there's a place that, down the south called the Devil's Punch Bowl, which is a big dip in the ground. It's a big, massive dip in the ground. It's all like a miniature Grand Canyon, I suppose, for our American listeners. And one of the myths about that is apparently two giants were having a fight. This is supposed to be years and years ago when there was druids around and stuff like this, and one of them scooped a big mound of earth out of the ground which made the Devil's Punch Bowl, and they threw this mound into the sea, and that's what became the Isle of Wight.
Yeah, cool.
And apparently that's the myth. There's no actual documentary evidence to back that story up.
No.
But that's the sort of the story attached to it. So I like places like that. I think when I was a kid growing up, there's always these strange places and there's strange stories behind them.
Yeah.
And the Isle
of Man is where the giant had a dump afterwards.
Yeah, bogey. He flicked a bogey out into the ocean.
So people wanted to race motorbikes on it, and that's about
definitely,
it.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, we're talking of the giants now. It's really strange because the Cern Abbas. I read this book. I think it was a Colin Wilson one about sort of supernatural mythology. This is a 70s book, and in the 70s they didn't really back it up with any documentary evidence, did they? Sort of this is a story. This is true, and they reckon that underneath the Cern Abbas, there's actual burial mound for a giant.
Oh, okay.
And that's actually an outline of his body, almost like when people get killed and they draw an outline on them.
Yeah,
it's like an outline of this giant's body. He's buried directly underneath this mound, but they can't disrupt it and dig it up because it's obviously a historical protected site.
Is that not? That's not the chalk man on the side of the hill, is it? That one, no.
No, it's the one where it's got a knob and everything. It's like an outline of this big giant bloke holding a spear, I think he is.
Yeah, but it's sort of done in chalk on the side of the mountain.
That's the one, yeah. So that was giant,
huge erection.
That's the one, yeah. It's got a big knob on it, yeah. It's apparently supposed to be a giant buried there. And they reckon that, in this book I read, that there's a race of giants who were like 30 foot high, who lived in Cornwall like years ago. Do you know what I mean? Around the time of Stonehenge was built and all that. And there's supposed to be lots of these burial mounds that have got giants underneath them.
Just in case you forget where they buried him. So
exactly, yeah. I mean, I suppose if they're quite big, you know what I mean, it's hard to dig a hole deep enough. But, it's ages otherwise they're massive like that. So do half a hole, let them stick out of the ground a bit. You know what I mean, cover it over. Yeah. But there's a bloke who's supposed to be doing this scan. Like an X-ray thing to see.
Yes, like a ground sonar.
Yeah, but they never published the results or whether he actually did it or not, or whether he's just bullshitting. I don't know. But he said he's going to do this scan to find out there were giant's bones there. Unless he did it and they weren't any, and he thought, better not mention it really.
Supposedly, if you go up there and if you're having trouble conceiving children, if you go and have sex on the giant's bell end, you've got a good chance of getting pregnant.
Apparently so, yes. A fertility site, isn't it, as well?
It is, yeah. So you might go up there, to go up for a bit of a picnic, and you might find two people at it. That's why I usually go up there anyway.
The old binoculars out.
I usually go with one of those snipers things over me though, so people can't see me.
The old binoculars out, having a good old look. Yeah. I mean, it's a mad place like that. I mean, it's quite. I mean, these sort of places are quite spooky, I suppose. I mean, it's like we talked before about the Isle of Wight in winter, how strange it is, and. I was talking to a lady in the shop, and she's saying, "I'll come in January and February and see what it's like. It's completely different after the island's shut, and see what it's like then." The people who live there like it because it gives them a bit of a chance to relax. It's very busy the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But she said, "Come along in January, February and see what you think of it then." You know what I mean? Because we're thinking of moving there at some point. But yeah, no, it's quite. It was quite a spooky place at times. There's some really old buildings there and some really strange old places. There's castles there and stuff like that. So, yeah, I had a good time there. It's a place I'd like to go to regularly.
Yeah, I mean, it is in winter, from my experience, because what we used to do is, when we was in the Navy, it was on a training boat. So we used to, circumnavigate the Isle of Wight all year round. So, in February and January, we'd go to Yarmouth and go alongside there. So that's where there's a yacht marina there, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And we went there once, and it was January, and there was 5 of us, and we was all sat in the bar having a few drinks. We was in uniform as well, because it's it's Isle of Wight in January. There's no terrorist threat there. Yes. And one of the lads was sat in the toilet, doing whatever you do in the loo. And 2 guys walked into the loo, and he overheard them talking, and they said, "Have you seen those Navy guys in there?" And the other one goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, we'll give it 5 minutes and we'll get them. I've got a knife with me." So,
bloody hell.
Yeah. So my mate waits till they exit the toilet and then literally says to us, "Right, we've got to go now." And so we left, and we didn't have any, we had no weapons on the ship. So we had to get the flare pistol out of the cupboard. And, yeah, threatened to shoot one of these guys with a flare pistol because they followed us down the jetty. So, yeah, so I won't say in winter it can be the friendliest place, but then again, you won't be walking around dressed as a sailor.
No, exactly, yeah.
Well, you might do. I don't know. It's whatever floats your boat. Yeah,
it depends, If there's village people fancy dress evening, may well be. But I'll tell you what place I've been in winter, which is quite weird, is Eastbourne. Because when you go to Eastbourne in the summer, it's like loads of old people tottering about and holiday makers. Yeah. When you go in the winter, it's the same, but they're taking the holiday makers out. It's just the old people tottering about. It's almost like a retirement place, almost.
It is.
But in the summer, there's younger people, there's people about, people on holiday and stuff like that, but they're all gone. And just these old people sitting there looking wistfully into the sea, counting the minutes away, really. It's
a bit weird because if you think about it, the coastal resorts in the UK tend to attract old people. But if you think about it, it's the sort of place where you'd take your kids when they're young, you know what I mean? So, you're in your sort of 30s and 40s and you think, you take the kids to the seaside. And once you're sort of in your 80s and 90s, the last thing I'd want is to sort of sit around reminiscing about when I used to take the kids there, and now my kids have sort of grown old and abandoned me and only see me at Christmas. It must be quite depressing. I'd go and live somewhere else. I'd go and live somewhere where I wouldn't be constantly reminded that, my efforts as a parent have been cast aside, and now, they just drag me around at Christmas.
Definitely. I think something comes from the Victorian, in the Victorian times, they actually considered going to the seaside as being like a health thing, because the Isle was going to be like a health spa.
Yeah, I suppose the air.
Yeah, because in London it's obviously very polluted at the time. There was a thing called the Grey Stink, where there's a lot of pollution. It's so bad that people gag, and they reckon that a lot of this stuff caused things like cholera and different diseases in the air, because it's such a that's when they actually built a sewer system because of it. But it's so bad, the stench was so awful. That going to the seaside was fresh air, because you had the sea there blowing fresh air towards you, and doctors would prescribe people, go to the Isle of Wight for a week, you feel a lot better. And that's why people use it as like a therapeutic place. They go to the seaside. So I suppose the generation of pensioners, maybe their grandparents maybe went to the seaside because that's a thing when you're older, you have health problems, go to the seaside, you might feel it lasts a bit longer,
Yeah, I suppose. Well, it must work, because when you go there is a hell of a lot of old people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's a very relaxing place. I can see, like I say, I can see the appeal of spending my life going around tea shops and pottering by the seaside and stuff like that.
And watching dodgy VHS ghost
videos of ghost stories, and stuff like that. And, eating scones and, going to model villages.
Cool.
Pretending to be a giant.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yep, sounds like a good life, I think.
Yeah. Anything else? Anything else bizarre?
Not really. I've just been, working away, making up ideas and stuff like that, and
pokers in the fire.
Projects. Yeah, been very busy, and I say just reading some strange books and stuff like that, and reading a book about people that are wrongly committed to asylums in the Victorian times at the moment. It's a really good book, actually, about how you could, if somebody, you want to get rid of somebody, whether it's like someone, had a mistress and want to get rid of his wife, he'd sort of convince people she's mad, get her a signed certificate and lock her away. or if there's somebody who's like, their mother was rich and they wanted their money, they put her in an asylum, so their money was handed over to them before she died. So it's all about how the laws were changed. It's quite an interesting book, and it was all true stories,
Yeah.
So I don't really read novels anymore. I can only read factual things.
No, yeah, it's.
I used to read novels when I was a kid, but I think this is not real. I'd rather read something factual because history is so fascinating itself that I only read sort of factual things. But it's a very interesting book. Yeah, it's about the conditions of asylums at the time. And I've got a bit of an obsession with asylums for some reason.
Yeah,
maybe I'll end up in one.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about sometimes checking myself in because just the idea of walking around in a nightie and painting pictures for a few weeks seems quite attractive when you've got 2 toddlers at home.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, it could be quite therapeutic, but I don't know. I don't think I'd be let back out there once I was in. So
no, a friend of mine was in there once, and he had a breakdown. I went to this. It's when they started asylums rather than they call them psychiatric wards now.
Yeah.
And this bloke was in there, and he could either have been telling the truth or he's proper bonkers. And what he reckons was that he was his family next door to this woman called Meg Patterson, I think her name was, and she invented this thing called a black box, which killed drug addicts. Basically, if you were a heroin addict and you attached yourself to this box, it cleaned your blood and got rid of your addiction.
Yeah.
And I know, and at the time, this is years ago, so there was no Google to look it up, but apparently it's true. And he reckons that when he was a kid, he was babysitted by Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, and Mark Bolan.
Right.
And they used to give him LSD and cocaine and all this sort of stuff as a kid. And that's what drove him bonkers.
And did he have to use the black box?
I don't think he did. I feel that they just sort of like, we've given up drugs now, you can have it, and give it to this kid. And he'd take them. But he just took them. Just like, I don't think he was addicted, but he just take them. I don't know, have a bit of acid one day, and couldn't afford it as a kid. It's like when you're a kid, you can't afford sweets. You've got to ask your mum and dad for them. So if they buy them for you, I suppose if an adult gives you some sweets,
maybe there's some element of truth in that. I mean, it's like if 10 years ago you'd have said that Jimmy Savile did things to you when he would babysat you, you'd laugh at it, wouldn't you? But nowadays it's common knowledge that he was a prolific nonce. Yeah, so maybe there's some truth in Jimi Hendrix, the babysitter, giving drugs to kids.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's true or not, who knows? But I mean, obviously he was mad as a hatter. But this woman he was talking about, he lived next door to, was real. Because I did look it up since, and there was an actual person. There was a black box to get rid of drug addiction, apparently. But whether his story is true or not, I don't know. Unless he read it himself and he was mad and put himself in that situation. I don't know, but yeah, it's interesting.
It is, definitely. Very, very strange indeed.
But crazy people are always fun, I think.
They are fun, yeah. So I consider myself slightly crazy, and I consider myself slightly fun sometimes.
It's good, yeah, it's good to be mad.
Embarrassing, my wife would say. But I like to think it's fun.
It's fun to be embarrassing sometimes, you know what I mean?
It is. Cool. What we'll do is now then we'll take a short break and we'll be back in a moment with Paranormal Corner.
So guys, we got an update for you guys on the Alton Towers incident, but I think we should just jump right into it. My name is Dave Wappel.
And I'm Sasha Wood.
This is I.O.
On June 2nd, 2015, there was a crash at Alton Towers Amusement Park. This crash involved the Smiler. It involved a train carrying 16 passengers crashing into an empty train. This resulted in 4 serious injuries.
Now, there were 4 individuals that were taken to emergency at a hospital, one of them being Leah Washington from South Yorkshire, and she suffered extensive knee damage. The damage was so bad on her left leg that the doctors had to amputate right above her knee.
Now, in the wake of the accident, Alton Towers is actually taking full responsibility. They are urging those involved in the Smiler crash to seek legal counsel so that they can receive full compensation.
Now, for the individuals who have been severely injured, it's rumored that these guys are going to receive millions in compensation. But the funny part is, they're giving away free tickets now for the theme park.
It's actually not that surprising because they need to encourage people to come to the park and ride the ride and try and get past the fear.
Believe it or not, this thing has had tons of problems with it before. And wasn't there one time when they found cracks at the bottom of the base? It's like, okay.
And this is a new ride too. It's only been around since 2013.
Yeah, this has got a lot of problems for a brand new ride.
Yeah.
So before we close this video, I guess we want to know, would you guys go on this roller coaster? Let us know down there in the comments below. My name is Dave Wappel.
I'm Sasha Wood.
This has been I.O. and keep it real, keep it classy, keep it flashy, and riding on rides. I know.
It was different.
I know. Out there.
In the real world?
Yeah. I like to always do something different from time to time, but you know that because you edit all the time too. Bye-bye.
Hello and welcome back to the Mystic Menagerie podcast. Now it's our regular feature, which is Paranormal Corner, and this month we're going to be looking at theme parks. Now the main sort of catalyst behind this was the recent incident at Alton Towers, which if for our overseas listeners they're not aware of what Alton Towers is, it is the UK's biggest theme park, which is
Disney.
Our Disney. But it's set in the grounds of a huge, derelict Gothic mansion, which is shrouded in all sorts of dodgy history. It's been there, I think it goes back to almost like Iron Age times, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
And now this Gothic mansion stands there. But within its grounds is a theme park. Freddie's never actually been there, have you? You've not been told?
No, I'm not really into theme parks that much, but, I suppose if you had kids or something, around it would do. But yeah, I've not been there. I mean, my family members have been there, people I know. They were there that day that happened. They nearly went on that Smiler. Thankfully they didn't, because I remember seeing on the news and thinking, oh shit, I hope they're okay, and ringing them, and they're okay. But apparently, while it happened, there's lots of people taking photographs and filming it and putting tweets up while people's attracting this carriage, which just shows a lot about what modern society's like, But no, apparently it's on the site of a previous ride that also was a bit cursed, isn't it?
There was, yeah, but it's a strange one because I've tried to find the history of the ride that was on there previously, but there was a ride there called the Black Hole, which was built actually on the same site as the Smiler. So in 2005 they shut the Black Hole, and that was a roller coaster. It was very much like Space Mountain at Disneyland. So it was a dark ride. It was a roller coaster, and you just sort of zipped around in the dark. But I remember as a kid, definitely there was it was in the news because it derailed at one point, which injured some people. And then there was another incident where a female went on it with long hair, and her hair kind of lassoed around some of the track, which was above her, and it ripped her hair out.
God.
Yeah, or, something else ripped her hair out. But
yeah.
I definitely remember those two stories about the Black Hole. And
I remember that, at the time as well.
And the Smiler crash actually happened on exactly the same site as where the Black Hole is. But there is a curse associated with Alton Towers. Now, if anyone who's been to Alton Towers will know, for saying it's the biggest theme park in the UK, it's a bastard to actually find. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's in between sort of Derbyshire and Staffordshire. You have to go on like these really small little A roads to get there. You would have thought like a theme park would have like a major road leading to it, but it doesn't. You have to go through all these little villages and you get to essentially like a Gothic mansion in the middle of nowhere, and there's a theme park around it. But the curse that's associated with Alton Towers is that, I'll tell you what we'll do is, instead of me going over it, we'll let Yvette Fielding do it for us.
Excellent.
From Most Haunted, as they did a show there not long ago, and she sums it up beautifully.
Hello, I'm Yvette Fielding. This week, my team will endeavour to peel back the fun facade of Britain's #1 tourist attraction to see if there's a darker side to this famous place. Welcome to Most Haunted and Alton Towers.
The fortress of Colred, the young king of Mercia, originally occupied this site. He only ruled for 7 short years, until insanity overtook him, and many believed that he and the ground on which the fortress stood had been cursed. The land then passed through several owners until the 1400s, when the Earls of Shrewsbury took possession, and it eventually became their summer residence. Charles, the 15th Earl, took a great interest in the property and its grounds, and began a major rebuilding scheme, and by the time of his death in 1832, he had created an outstanding example of Gothic architecture. However, the notion of the curse had continued, and the atmosphere of the towers is certainly menacing, with many varied reports of a myriad of spirits, some merely wisps of the imagination, but others threatening and forthright in their brushes with the
With such a varied history and so many ghosts, who would be mad enough to spend the night here completely on their own and in the dark?
So there you go. The curse associated with Alton Towers is all to do with the chained oak. There's a ride at Alton Towers called Hex. If you sit on this ride, it tells you all about the curse and the old witch that comes out and puts the curse on the Earl of Shrewsbury. When you're on the ride, all of this documentary is on, but you just think it's made up and part of the ride to enhance the atmosphere. However, the actual oak is real and it is there, but it's not actually in the grounds of Alton Towers itself, which I found quite surprising.
It was on a cold autumn night in 1821 when the thunder of hooves signalled the return of the wealthy 15th Earl of Shrewsbury back to his home, Alton Towers. As the journey neared its end, a mysterious figure suddenly appeared in the road. The Earl impatiently demanded of the driver why the carriage had stopped. With palm outstretched, an old woman pleaded with the Earl for the charity of a coin. The Earl cruelly dismissed her and instructed his driver to head back to the Towers. Scorned, the old woman screamed a curse. For every branch of the old oak tree that fell, a member of the Earl's family would die. Same night, a ferocious storm raged, and with one mighty bolt of lightning severed a single branch from the old oak tree. And true to the old woman's prophecy, a member of the Earl's family suddenly and mysteriously died. Shaken by this tragedy, the arrogant Earl ordered his servants that every remaining branch of the oak tree be chained up in an attempt to prevent further misfortune.
If you want to actually find out where the chained oak is, you come out of Alton Towers and go down the road for about a mile, and there's a bed and breakfast called the Chained Oak Bed and Breakfast. And if you go down their driveway, there's a little footpath off to the left. And if you go down there for about 5 minutes, you'll find an ancient oak tree that has been wrapped up in old sort of anchor chain. So really big, thick chain. And in some places, the tree has grown over the chain itself. So it's actually become ingrown into the tree. So it has been there since the legend suggests. So
ingrown tree now.
Yeah, which itself is really creepy, don't you think? Actually,
it's very creepy, and in fact, it's been there for so long, and those chains are God knows how 100 years old, over 100 years old.
Yeah, and there is an actual fallen branch with these chains wrapped around it as well. So the legend is true essentially. As to whether the curse is true, it's hard to say. But the recent happenings at Alton Towers could suggest that there is an element of truth in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a creepy place anyway. I mean, like I say, amusement parks, they seem more vibrant than that, but there's definitely a creepiness to them.
I mean, Alton Towers as well is also the very first place that I met Paul Voudini. So, yeah, which is he did a Fright Nights paranormal event there, and he invited me along to have a stand there where I peddled some of my wares to the unsuspecting public. So that was the first time I met Paul, and that was at Alton Towers. And funnily enough, the venue where they have it is behind the Smiler. So yeah, so it's actually all there. But the actual place itself, around the grounds, if you wander around the grounds of Alton Towers through the gardens, it is quite an eerie place. It's quite high up as well, so when you go there, you never, as we said earlier on about the weather, you can go in the middle of summer, and if there's low cloud, it's just foggy and wet all day, which is quite miserable. It's definitely a place that is shrouded in mystery, and me and Hamish, as I said on the previous shows, we like to do a bit of urban exploring. Even though the Chained Oak isn't really urban, we are going to, on our way back from the Fairy Festival, we're going to take a detour via Alton Towers, and we're going to go and find the Chained Oak and take some photos of it.
Excellent.
And
Fantastic.
We'll post them on the Facebook page, and so you can all have a look, and we'll just go and see it for ourselves.
That'd be fantastic to actually see it. I mean, in its glory. Because you read about these things, but it's always a weird vibe when you're standing right next to them, isn't it, when you're actually there? See what vibes you get from it as well, because I imagine it would feel quite creepy as well.
Yeah, well, I would say that 90% of the people who go to Alton Towers and ride Hex and listen to the story of the Chained Oak, they just think it's completely made up.
Yeah, just a story to go along with the ride.
And they actually say during the documentary, which we've played, they actually say that the location's secret to the actual oak itself, but I wouldn't say it's secret. It's just not advertised where it is. It's not
harder to find.
Yeah. So
it's there. It's just harder to find, isn't it? It's off the beaten track. They don't make a thing out of it, though. A lot of places will make a big thing out of that. They actually you pay to see the oak or whatever, but they don't do that, do they, at all?
No. It's strange. I mean, I was surprised to find out that it was actually real. Because what happened was when we went to Alton Towers last, we went on Hex and stuff, and we took a different route home, and we actually drove past the Chained Oak bed and breakfast. And I said to Hamish, I said, "Oh, did you see what the name of that bed and breakfast was?" And he said, "Yeah, it's the Chained Oak." And I thought, oh, well, there must be some truth in the legend then. It can't just be completely fabricated for the purpose of the ride. So that's what made me investigate it further, and that's what made me find that the oak exists and where its actual location is.
I suppose they play it down because of the theme park. I don't want people to think that the place they're going into is cursed, I suppose.
Well, this is the thing. Now it has got the reputation of being cursed. I mean, there's a medium, I can't remember her name, but ironically, she's from Cannock Chase as well, that we spoke about on the last show. But she's come out and said that the place is cursed. But I think if you knew the legend of the Chained Oak, it was common knowledge it was cursed anyway.
I mean, it's a freaky story, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of other incidents that there's been there's quite a few at Alton Towers. I mean, there's the Alton Mouse, the Alton Mouse is actually next to the Smiler. That had things like the cars kept stalling on it. They've taken that down now, and they've replaced it with the Sonic the Hedgehog ride. But yeah, the carriages kept stalling. And then there's things like in the Forbidden Valley, there was a fire where all the rides had to be evacuated. And the Sky Ride, which is the cable car, the cables jammed and 80 people were stranded and 9 had to be rescued by abseiling 200 feet down to the ground.
Christ.
And then there was another fire caused by halogen bulbs blowing up in one of the carriages. And then there was another fire in Cloud Cuckoo Land, which is at the station for the Sky Ride. And the fire brigade, it took them hours to get it under control. What else is there? There's Rita, which is like the fastest ride. A 12-year-old girl suffered broken wrists on the ride, which is odd in itself. So she got on it, and when she got off it, she had both the wrists were broken.
Strange.
Yeah, the Runaway Mine Train, 2 carriages uncoupled, 6 people taken to hospital, 23 others were treated for cuts and bruises. Oblivion, well, actually this isn't anything to do with the curse because a drunk man climbed into the Oblivion tunnel, so unless he was possessed.
Yeah.
The spirit of the witch.
The spirit of the witch.
Yeah. There was another crash on the Smiler back in 2013 when someone was injured when one of the rubber guides fell off and hit a person in the face.
Wasn't there an instance where it got stuck and it held upside down for ages as well?
That was air, that was. Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, I mean, you can see there is a theme with the actual incidents at Alton Towers, which mainly revolve around fire and people getting legs and wrists either amputated or broken.
Very, very strange. And obviously, things that happen with rides like that, they're the sort of things that would happen with a ride, but it just seems to happen a lot, doesn't it? I mean, does Disney have many? I don't never heard of any instances at Disney, have you?
There's one thing at Disney which you wouldn't think is a ride that would have any deaths on it, but there is one. It's called the Carousel of Progress. If I could recommend any ride not to go on, it would be the Carousel of Progress, because we thought it was actually a proper ride, but it's an idea that Walt Disney had of a theatre that revolves around a central stage which takes people from the past into the future to show how people live, and it's all done in robotics. And what happened is, in 1974, a girl basically got crushed to death between the rotating stages. So she got up and was moving around. I think she was trying to get through to the next theatre, and as it rotated, it actually crushed her to death.
God.
Yeah, so what happens now is, when you go on the carousel of progress, each section that you watch is like 5 minutes long of these really shit robots singing and talking. If at any point during the presentation or the performance you get up and stand up, I think there's a sensor on your seat. It triggers, it stops the actual robots and resets them, and you have to watch the whole thing again.
Really?
So, yeah, and the whole thing's about half an hour. So we went in with 2 toddlers, 4 and 2 years old, and they wanted to get out straight away because it was boring, it was rubbish. So they kept getting up and they kept resetting it, and the robots kept resetting, and we were stuck in it for about 40 minutes. And in the end, people were just getting up and trying to leave. But I think if you go on YouTube and type in Carousel of Progress, if you type in the Carousel of Progress ride attendant, you'll hit how nuts they go, because they like, will you please return to your seat, sir? Please return to your seat. And of course you don't. You want to get out and you go out the fire escape. But if you do that, it resets the whole ride, and all the other people who want to watch it have to watch the whole thing again. But
good Lord,
all of that's in place purely because some kid got crushed to death on it in the 70s.
And it's a really crap ride, is it?
Oh, it's awful. It's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. It's really dodgy animatronic robots from like the, it was obviously done in the 70s or something. It's terrible. Don't ever go on it.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is for your safety. Please remain seated. If anyone stands up, the theater cannot continue. If people continue to exit the theater, this attraction cannot continue. Please remain fully seated, and the carousel will rotate as soon as possible. Thank you.
Immediate smash hit. Millions of people came to see it. And since then, the carousel...
Once again, everyone, please sit down. If you exit the theater, the show cannot continue. Once again, please remain fully seated, otherwise the attraction cannot continue motion. If you are standing in the theater, please sit down. Thank you.
The 20th century, experiencing all the new wonders.
No, I'll avoid that like the plague.
Yeah, but that's the only death that I know of at Disneyland. I mean, I'm sure other people will tell us more, but obviously not being too sort of familiar with Disney, that's the only one I know of.
And of course, they play down these things as well, because I don't think it goes down well. Do you know what I mean? If they're trying to promote a theme park and people are dying in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, creepy theme park. There's all these different ones like this. There's ones that are abandoned, and that's in itself an abandoned theme park. It's very creepy in itself. It
is, yeah. There's like the one in Chernobyl, isn't there? There's the fairground there that was abandoned, that you can still sort of, obviously if you go into Chernobyl you can go and visit, but there's the big wheel and like roller coasters and stuff, which is very very strange. And
there's also like in England there's the thing called Mr. Blobby World, which is really, it's not haunted or anything like this.
Is it still there?
Yeah. I know someone that went there a few years ago and they took pictures and put it on Facebook. And the thing is, for listeners, who aren't English, know Mr. Blobby is a TV character that was popular a few years ago. It was a big pink character painted with yellow dots on it, like a spotted character. And all it would say was Blobby, Blobby, Blobby. It had these revolving eyes and would basically sort of fall over and do slapstick sort of routines. Sort of thing that's very popular in Europe, but for some reason it is a big, massive thing in the UK for a while. Everybody loved it, and #1 song and everything else. And this theme park, it wasn't very successful at all. And it's still there. And basically, it's all overgrown, all these sort of, bushes and stuff like that. You have to wade through it. And there's these pink cottages inside there, and in the middle there's this sort of skanky, really sort of affected by the weather, sort of little house. And there's a model Mr. Blobby in there, half his face falling off, and his wife having tea. I can put it now. Is it in Sussex or something like that? I'd have to have a look that up actually. But yeah, I can put it now. But someone that went there recently, they took pictures. I think they did a blog actually. If you put Mr. Blobbyland photos, someone took pictures of it as it is now, all abandoned, deserted. It just looks horrible. But I don't think it's haunted.
I'm having a look at it now, and it's actually the remains of Dunblobbin.
That's it, Dunblobbin. That's what it's called.
Yeah, which is in Somerset. Cricket St Thomas, in the grounds of a stately home.
That's a place for you to go next, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, that would be an awesome. Your favourite word? That'd be awesome. Yeah, urban exploring expedition to Dunblobbin, Mr. Blobby's resting place.
R.I.P. Mr. Blobby. It's like the Graceland Mr. Blobby fans, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, why haven't the Teletubbies? They built a Teletubbies place. And that sort of, I don't know how long it's open for, but that sort of closed down.
Yeah, there's a Peppa Pig land in Southampton, but that's still quite popular with the little ones.
At the moment, it's the thing, isn't it, Peppa Pig? Still there.
I'm sure it'll be forgotten about at some point, though. And Brian Blessed will be out of the job. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm no longer going to have to display pigs in a positive context anymore, I think.
Yeah. Mr. Blobby had a really odd voice as well. It was almost like a pitch-shifted demonic voice, wasn't it?
Like a Dalek, yeah. It's almost like a Dalek. I mean, if anyone is unfamiliar with Mr. Blobby, if you Google the song Mr. Blobby video on YouTube, you'll see this song, which is the maddest song. Yeah. And this was number 1 at Christmas in the UK.
And he was quite rough as well. He used to basically kick the shit out of people live on TV, didn't he?
He's like a psycho, wasn't he, really? It's violent, he was annoying.
Yeah.
He's like someone who was psychopathic with a smile on their face.
Yeah, but very popular.
Amazingly popular. I mean, kids loved him, old people loved him. I mean, the whole nation seemed to. It appeared that I was the only person that wasn't caught by Blobby mania.
No. Yeah, it's one to look at if you're not familiar with Mr. Blobby. And I mean, there's some listeners who probably weren't even born when Mr. Blobby was around, so it might be worth checking out for its bizarre value.
Yeah, maybe spawn new fans and have a revival. Do you know what I mean? But that theme park, the fact that what's bizarre about that? You go there, it's all like the ghost of something that was popular. I mean, he's almost forgotten now. Yes. But at the time, he was like the main, biggest export in the UK. People were mad on him. Number 1 records. You go into like a car shop, there's cars of Mr. Blobby. There was stationery.
Cuddly toys.
Everything, yeah. Anything you wanted, sex toys, the lot. But now it's just like forgotten. It's erased from history. But this sort of park still standing there with this, throwbacks this time in the 90s, was it? I think it was, when this character was popular, and it's just left there rotting and abandoned. I think one of the reasons it closed down, I think that the attendance was bad, but there's a bit of a scandal there because they had a zoo on site. For some reason, Mr. Blobby wanted a zoo. I don't know why they go together, but they had animals there, like a safari park type thing. And one of the elephants hurt its leg, I think, and rather than sort of treat it, they shot it.
All right.
So there was a big scandal about that, and I don't think it helped the park's popularity at all.
No, people boycotted.
So obviously it's not been sold on, but all the buildings left standing, all the houses and the rides and stuff, just left there looking very. And they're all painted this horrible sort of bright, sort of pink with yellow spots. Which kind of looks even more, because it's all stained and sort of dirty, and because obviously if it's a functional theme park, it'd be cleaned and looked after. Because it's left there to rot in the weather, it looks even more sinister. But yeah, it's a very odd.
Haunted by the ghost of, it will be haunted by Noel Edmonds when he finally kicks the bucket, but
definitely, yeah. And the ghost of Mr. Blobby, of course.
And the ghost of Mr. Blobby, yeah.
If you camp there overnight, you might, be like Blair Witch Projects, and then you hear Blobby from somewhere. Did you hear that voice?
That itself is an eerie thing. I might have to play a soundbite of Mr. Blobby's voice.
He may be a psycho, like a Freddy Krueger, like a children's entertainer turned bad. His career goes down its luck.
Yeah.
He retreats into his woodland home, lets it all go overgrown, and he's walking around stalking any kids or people walk nearby. If they don't remember him, he will kill them.
He's like a big pink slender man, but he's not slender. He's fat and pink.
Yeah. A pink fat man, yeah. But yes, it just looks awful, that place. I mean, eerie. It's eerie, completely eerie.
There's another story which revolves around, obviously, theme parks and fairgrounds. And it's the one called that revolves around the Laugh in the Dark ride at the Pike Amusement Park in Long Beach, California. And I remember we spoke about this before.
That's right,
not on the show, but we have spoken about it before.
We have,
what happened is there's a ghost train there called Laugh in the Dark, and they'd filmed quite a lot of TV shows there before, like Columbo, and they were preparing it for the $6 Million Man with what was his name? Was it Lee Majors?
Yes, right, Lee Majors. That's it.
Yeah, it was in the $6 Million Man, and the film crew were inside the haunted house or the Laugh in the Dark ride, getting it prepped and putting the lighting up and the cameras and everything. And there was this bright orange mannequin there, which had a noose round its neck hanging from the ceiling. And one of the technicians tried to move it, and its arm broke off.
Wow.
And one thing they thought was weird about it is when they looked inside, it actually got a bone inside where the arm was, where it had snapped off. So they actually contacted the police, and they cut it down and found out it was actually a corpse.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it was a human. It was basically a mummified corpse that had been hanging in there for years. And so they started they started a murder investigation to find out who it was. And it turns out it was a bank robber called Elmer McCurdy, who died in 1911 after a shootout. So how the hell he ended up hanging by his neck in a ghost train is beyond me. But it turns out that people actually knew it was a corpse because he also got a fresh lick of paint every year as well. It'd been painted bright orange every year for about, 50, 60 years.
Mad, isn't it? Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. So it basically got so much arsenic in his body that it had mummified him and preserved his body. And they just hung him in there. So the only thing I can think of how he ended up in there was it might have been might have been an exhibit for a freak show. The mummified body of a bank robber.
Because there was that Julia Pastrana. She was like the sort of missing link woman. Do you remember? She was like half. She's like, I think she was. I don't know what country she was from now, but somewhere. Like Borneo or something like this, like a wild woman. And she had like ape-like features,
Yeah.
And she exhibited in a freak show for years. And then she died. Her husband thought, can't make the money from her, get her stuffed. So he got her stuffed and exhibited her corpse.
Really?
I mean, a child died, a baby died. She had a baby that died young.
Yeah.
So the stuffed baby and a stuffed woman exhibited. There's a book about her, The Life of Julia Pastrana, which you can get on Amazon. Mm-hmm. Very interesting, because the bloke who wrote the book tried to track down where her remains were now after she'd been exhibited in this carnival and that. And they're in some sort of, somewhere like Denmark, some sort of in a bin bag in a warehouse.
Really?
Yeah, so mummified remains, you know what I mean? Obviously quite solid, they're not rotting or anything like that. But yeah, this is in a bin bag, no one knows what to do with her. They can't exhibit her anymore because it's considered undignified and that.
What about bury her? That'd be a good thing to do.
That would be the right thing to do. It's like I say about that skeleton that was at, the Museum of Witchcraft in Boscastle in Cornwall. That was exhibited. A full skeleton of a witch who was executed. And when I was a kid, I saw it, but she was given a burial because people complained about it.
Well, this kind of brings up the subject of, when you go to a museum and they've got skeletons of Iron Age men and Vikings and stuff. I mean, they were at one point humans who'd been given some form of ceremonial burial, which means essentially they shouldn't be disturbed. But where do you draw the line about actually digging them up and sticking them in a museum and taking them from their resting place?
Exactly. I mean, when you think about Egypt, they just plundered people's graves, really.
Yeah. I think once you're buried in whatever religion you belong to, whatever grounds you were buried under, you should just be left there, I suppose.
Yeah, allowed to stay there. I mean, I suppose it's historical context. I mean, that witch's skeleton was fascinating. As a kid to see that, and as a witch who was hung, it was an amazing thing to see as a kid because it was like walking into a real life Hammer film.
Yeah.
Talking about burial places, I don't know whether it's an urban myth or whether it's true, but Walt Disney, he wanted to be cryogenically frozen and brought back to life in years to come.
Yeah.
Obviously when they do this cryogenics, they remove your head, don't they? Drain your body of fluid and keep it stored. And apparently his head is inside Space Mountain. You can't see it, but it's within, that's where he wanted it to be kept.
In like a vault or something.
Yeah, it's like, I noticed in a picture of his head, but I mean, apparently, whether it's an urban myth or whether it's true or not, but it's in Space Mountain is what I've heard. But
it could be.
It's supposedly cryogenically frozen. He wants to come back, in say 2,000 years' time, make another theme park. Make another theme park.
Well, there's that ghost footage of the person on CCTV from the security cameras walking around to Disney when it's closed. Have you seen that?
Yes, that's very strange, isn't it?
And the cameras actually, you follow. Obviously there's about 5 security cameras, and the security camera operator is flicking from camera to camera, following this. You can actually see it quite clearly. It's a body walking, but you can only see it really from the waist upwards. But you can see the head and the arms swinging, and it's just walking along. And it walks round by the lake where the steamboat goes, past the haunted house.
Oh, in Manchester, isn't it?
The Haunted Mansion, that's it. And you can just see it clear as day. This haunted, like this ghost walking from camera to camera.
Strange, isn't it? It's the same as like a theme park. Neverland. That's technically a theme park, isn't it? There's like footage of Michael Jackson's ghost.
Well, that would be one creepy theme park, even when it was open. Never mind being shut.
Considering what probably happened there.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you'd have to ask Macaulay Culkin all about that.
Definitely, yeah. Well, some of the people have been paid off. But yeah, it's so obviously there is a creepy place anyway. And there'll be an empty zoo there, wouldn't there? Or cages, no animals in there, and an abandoned theme park. Is there someone bought Neverland? I think someone did buy it. Didn't they? It was up for sale. I think.
What, Michael Jackson's place in Neverland?
Yeah, I think someone did buy it. I don't know whether they're making it into a museum, like a grave stand for Michael Jackson. But
yeah,
it's a creepy place. But there's footage of his ghost inside the house part. Moving about as well.
Yeah, I have. I think I've seen. There's the one where you look down the corridor, isn't there, and you can see someone walk. You walk.
It walks past. Yeah, moonwalks by.
You see like a silver glove.
Yeah,
a silver glove floats past the camera.
That's crazy, isn't it? There's another weird theme park. I mean, it's one of curses of theme parks. There's one in West Virginia. I know we spoke about this before. Called Lake Shawnee Amusement Park, and it's abandoned, but it's really old. It's still it's only open 1 week a year at Halloween. October 20th to October the 31st. It's in West Virginia, Lake Shawnee Amusement Park, and it's closed in 1966. And it's all rusted. Because you can imagine in the 60s how old it is.
Yeah.
Apparently, the county is home to the Native American tribes until 1783, and then a European family, settled on there, and there's like a bit of a war between them. And apparently, it's haunted by these Native Americans. So apparently, they killed the bloke who opened the park. They killed his youngest son.
Right.
So there's a lot of bloodshed that happened on this site, and they built like a theme park on top of it. But it's very haunted. It's got a Ferris wheel. It's got swings that apparently move on their own with ghosts on them. Yeah, a haunted Ferris wheel. But a lot of tragedies happen there. Yeah, so the girl in a little pink dress. She climbs into the circle. And there's like a swing. She climbs into a swing, and a truck backs into her. Yeah, I was on the swing. Another boy drowned in a swimming pool. So a lot of things that happen there. But it's really weird. If you look at it, it's very old. It's called Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. But you can only go there. Do you know what I mean? Like in Halloween. It's very haunted apparently, and the things start moving on their own, like swings start moving. Yeah. But it just looks like it's rotted. It's a horrific place.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, apparently the wooden swing, there's no one there, and the swings are supposed to be moving on their own. Even there's no wind, you can hear the swings moving, and they're like moving on their own. Yeah. And like sometimes if you sit on a swing, it's like someone's pushing it, but you're sitting on it, even though there's nobody there. Yeah.
It's definitely. I mean, I know, like, obviously Alton Towers did like a Fright Nights haunted night there, but you don't physically sort of go around where the rides are. You just go to where the house is and walk around the grounds of the house. But when these theme parks are out of season, they make a killing if you could like walk around the actual park itself closed and do like a ghost vigil there.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, there's obviously tragedies happen to these parks, and it's known for that. And I think it'd be good. That one in America is closed in the 60s. They're making obviously good, even though it's only 1 week it's open. I'm sure they'd make good business in that time of year. Because it's like a rotting away. It's just like the rides aren't working. They're all sort of like it's all overgrown and stuff like this, and they're all very old 60s style paint out there. Very creepy stuff, and they are creepy places when there's no one there.
I mean, I should definitely go back to Alton Towers. Me and Hamish usually once a year in September, and we go and ride everything. I'll probably give it a miss this year, but I'm probably going to go out of season, I reckon, this time, and go and experience it, when there's nothing there, and just go and see what it's like and soak up some of the atmosphere.
Definitely. It's like Madame Tussauds. I mean, that's a creepy place when it's actually shut as well. I mean, at night, because there's a lot of horror films like Murders at the Wax Museum and stuff like that. And they used to offer you like something like £1,000 million or something. You can stay there overnight and not get scared. Yeah. Years ago, I don't think they do it now, but years ago, I think it's in the 60s, 70s. If you stay in Madame Tussauds or sleep there on your own at night with all the waxworks around you, then you won a prize, like money.
Yeah, that would be quite creepy, wouldn't it? Definitely.
There's always they look like bodies, some of them stuffed people, don't they? Some of these waxworks.
Yeah. Mannequins themselves are quite eerie. You do get a large amount of mannequins and stuff at theme parks. I think that adds to the creepiness.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, there was a Camelot theme park based around King Arthur, which is closed down, abandoned. I can't remember in the UK. That is probably down the south. And I saw some pictures of that, and there was like these mannequins, and they were like half cut in half, and the head was on the floor, and there's an arm over there, just left everywhere. Yeah. And it's like abandoned round table, and it's like banquet room and stuff like that. So it does look like it's King Arthur's castle abandoned, But there's heads everywhere and arms here. It just looks, from the distance, it looks horrible. Yeah. It looks like ISIS have been there, There's like a head on the floor and a torso over there. These mannequins, and it looks very sinister.
There's a Wikipedia page which is actually called Incidents at European Amusement Parks, and it's got all these sort of bad things that have happened. Not the sort of thing you really want to read before you go on a nice holiday to one of these theme parks. But there used to be a theme park at Battersea Fun Fair, and in 1972, it says here that one of the train carriages became detached, and 5 children were killed and 13 injured. I'd never heard about that before, had you?
No, I didn't know that before, no.
No, because there was a rumour that they were going to turn Battersea Power Station into a theme park at one stage, wasn't there? They were
That's right, yeah.
What to do to it, so...
Because before they had gigs there for a while, didn't they? They had like bands on them.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if that had anything to do with them not turning it into a theme park, knowing that it was, bad things had happened there in the past.
No, I don't. It's a weird location for a theme park, though, isn't it, Battersea?
Yeah, it is. It's although I think they're thinking of building one in near Dartford. The Dartford Crossing. They've built Universal. Are actually building a theme park there.
Really?
Yeah, which will be almost like the Universal that you've got in Orlando. So it'll be all roller coasters and bits and bobs.
Fantastic, isn't it? And I think there's not many theme parks like that in the UK. Not like the American style ones.
The thing is, though, that bit of land down by the Dartford Crossing, which is almost like mud flats, I'm pretty sure that is where all the London gangsters dump all their bodies. Oh yeah, definitely, and all the motorway and all the bridges around there. Yeah, you can only imagine what ghosts and stuff are going to be at that theme park when the developers go in and start digging up all these gangland gangster executions in order concrete boots and all that. Yeah, stick roller coasters on it. I'd be quite surprised to find out, if they find anything down there. It'd be interesting. Years ago, I went on one of these tours. Do you remember? I mean, I think he's passed away. Remember Mad Frankie Fraser? I do, yeah. And he was like a henchman for the Richardson brothers, who were like the Cray twins rivals in the 60s. And he used to do this bus tour, open top bus tour around London of like gangland sites. And he was like the sort of the host of it, the tour guide. And he sort of goes, hey, over there, that's where Ronnie Cray shot George Cornell. That's where Jack the Hat was killed, and there's a motorway, a bridge where he said, oh, there's people buried in there, inside the concrete pillars of this bridge. So yeah, around London there's a lot of that, I think. Yeah. I remember a guy came around once to buy a lawnmower off me, and he was a bit of a geezer, bit sort of stocky and had a bit of a gangster vibe about him. And he was telling me that there's an old abandoned hospital in the next village, that if you go there and if you were to dig around, that's where there's a lot of bodies buried there from sort of the 60s when the gangs were operating in London, like the Crays and everything. Yeah. I've never sort of got a spade and gone and started digging around there, but he seemed pretty serious. So I think that I've heard that myself as well. There are areas in London like that. There are certain spots. I mean, I think also many people were like building like motorways, because around the 60s, that's when motorways were still being built, weren't they? That's when they were first the motorways were sort of being built around that time. And a lot of bridges, motorway bridges. So a lot of people, when there's concrete there setting, they dump the body in that, it's sink into the concrete, gone forever. Yeah. And I think they dumped a lot of people in concrete as well. This tour I went to, is Frankie Fraser, he was saying there, they dumped people in concrete. So if they're like waiting for it to set, they put the concrete down, they push the body into the concrete, and it's set, and there's no way to find them. No one's going to dig up concrete, are they, looking for a body? That's it. There was a baby do you remember I think it was probably about 10 years ago, someone in the UK was clearing out a garage. They'd just bought a house, and the garage was separate to the house. When you get like a terraced house, and then you usually have a plot of garages around the back. And he'd gone in there, this chap had gone in, he'd bought the house, and he thought he'd go and check the garage out after they'd bought it. And he went in, and there was a whole block of concrete in there, and which he thought was odd. And it was in like a wooden box. So someone had made like a box mould and poured this concrete in. And he got him and his mate to come and lift it out, and as they lifted it, it split open, and there was a baby inside it. Really? Yeah, the baby in the block, it's called, I think. And did they find anything out about it, or who was it? Previous owners? And yeah, they did DNA, because what happened was they arrested the previous owners, thinking that it was them. I can't remember what the actual outcome of the story was. But yeah, it's called The Baby in the Block, and it was a documentary. But yeah, there was a baby that had basically been put inside this block of concrete.
Very strange.
Yeah. So this is from The Mirror back in 2005, and it basically says a baby girl who was beaten and sexually abused was entombed in a concrete block while she was still alive.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, basically the detectives named the baby Lara. She was aged between 4 and 6 months old and lay undiscovered for 15 years in a garage when she was found in like this block of concrete.
Bloody hell, they find the people that did it now. They must have done, I suppose. To know
yeah, but the guy who was responsible for it had actually died.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so they couldn't press any charges on anybody. But they did like a huge DNA matching type thing to try and obviously see who she was related to.
Surely it would have rotted away after 15 years, just be a skeleton.
Well, yeah, there was. I think there was the cast of the. The thing is, though, I
don't know. She's beaten and sexually abusing. Or is they just adding that to the story to make it sound more dramatic? I don't know.
I think the body would have been slightly mummified once. Because if you think about it, once you're entombed in concrete, oxygen can't get to you.
Exactly, I suppose. Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean the lime in the concrete would have had an adverse effect on your skin, but I think the actual, the body itself would be preserved inside.
Yeah, that's strange, isn't it? Like when you get them frogs inside the stones.
Yeah. The person that they wanted to arrest for it had died. I think he died really closely to the discovery as well. He died a few months before the actual body of the baby was discovered.
Oh, hell! If you were moving, you'd get rid of that, wouldn't you, in case someone found it?
Yeah.
He probably cleared his hard drive, but didn't get rid of that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if anyone wants to go and have a look at, well, I don't suppose you'd probably want to know any more about it other than what me and Freddie have told you here, because we've kind of summed up the story itself. But it's pretty grim. But it is, if you just type in "baby buried alive in a block of concrete," that's The Baby in the Block, which itself is quite a grim story.
It is.
Although nothing to do with theme parks.
No, but then, there might be a baby in a block in the theme park somewhere. They're building a theme park and somebody dropped someone in there.
Yeah, these things.
Very possible.
It would have been in fiberglass, though, wouldn't it? Everything in theme parks seems to be made of bloody fiberglass.
These days it is, yeah. I suppose the older ones are more concrete, weren't they? I'm not sure about Disney. That's still got some concrete foundations and parts of it. It's quite old, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So I suppose that they might have. But yeah, theme parks themselves, like I say, they are creepy places. You don't know what's gone on there in the past. And most of them has horrible things happen. The curse of Alton Towers is obviously that there is. I thought there's something in that because a lot of things happen there. Yeah, there can be errors with machinery and stuff like that, but it does seem to be a bit frequent. It
is frequent, and the fact that there is a curse associated with the grounds and the land that doesn't ever seem to have been, released. There's no sort of release of the curse, is there? It's just, every time some branch falls off this tree, so a member of his family will die. But, if his family aren't around to receive the curse, then it must pass on to, whoever is in the area at the time, I suppose. But it all seems to be centered around the area of the Smiler, which is where the black hole was, and also the mousetrap ride as well. So it's all in that zone.
Interesting to know if a branch fell off the tree before the recent accident happened.
I mean, you've got to think of the weight of the chains on those branches as well. As the tree gets older, the chains are going to start pulling branches off, aren't they?
Well, they are, yeah.
Yeah, because they're heavy. So
I suppose his attitude was, by the time they start putting the branches off, my family will be dead and gone, so it doesn't matter.
No, true.
That's his attitude, probably. So, yeah, it does seem there's something very strange about that.
Yeah, but the fact that it's still there is eerie in itself.
Yeah, it is, yeah. And the fact that most trees like that, people just uproot them. These days, trees are always sort of taken out of the ground, but that's left there. It's very strange.
And it's got like a really strange little sort of flight of stone steps up to it as well, that have been put there on purpose. So it's like it at one point may have been a kind of an attraction, but it's just become forgotten about.
Like Mr. Blobby.
Like Mr. Blobby, yeah. I think had it not been for the Hex ride, the legend of the curse would probably have just fallen into. It would have just been forgotten about.
Yeah.
It just goes to prove, though, that you can tell these types of stories and the bulk of people just don't believe they're real anyway.
No, that's why true things are more fascinating than fictional stories. To find out that's true, it makes it even more creepier. Yeah, and there's probably stories. I mean, if that wasn't used for that ride, it'd be a story that's forgotten about. The curse, everything about it would be forgotten.
It would.
But because it's been brought to light because of because of that ride, the Hex ride, people know about it. And there may be other stories attached to other theme parks that they decided to cover up. Because when you think about it, the last bit of publicity people want at a theme park is this is cursed and something might happen to you bad here. It's the worst advertising. Well, it was PR that you could have, isn't it? So there may be other stories attached to sites or things like this. They kept quiet.
Yeah, that's it. And the music that they play for the Smiler ride as well, which is obviously where the crash occurred. The music itself is quite creepy. It's almost like 9 Inch Nails with like a children's theme over the top that's been slightly detuned. So
weird.
Yeah, it is eerie. I'll probably play it on the way out, on the outro to the show. We'll put it on so you can have a little listen to it.
Definitely, yeah.
But it'll haunt your dreams. Once it's in your head, you'll never get rid of it. The Smiler theme.
That is very strange, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it'd be interesting if anything more happens with these rides because it does seem to happen quite frequently, doesn't it? And Alton Towers doesn't have a lot. I mean, they stay open. People still go there. It doesn't deter people, but these things still keep happening.
No. I know when Most Haunted went there, they did a show there. A ghost supposedly appeared and basically told them to fuck off and threw things at them. So whatever it is there isn't very friendly. So
I think that it's quite a bad vibe. There's also the ghost of the witch.
Mind you, if Derek Akora came around my house, I'd probably tell him to fuck off and throw things at him as well.
Yeah. Probably just wants people like just generally, you know what I mean?
Sam? Is that you, Sam?
Hi, Sam. Calm down, Sam.
So there you go, that's Paranormal Corner. Some of the places you may have been yourself. If you have and experienced anything there, then drop us a line and we'll cover it in one of the shows. But we're going to take a short break now and we'll be back in a moment. Hello and welcome back to the Mystic Menagerie podcast. We've got a special guest on the show today. And if you're a fan of werewolves, then you're going to find our next guest very interesting. I'd like to welcome Nick Stead, author of the werewolf novel Hybrid, to the show. Hi there, Nick.
Hiya, Dan.
How are you?
I'm good, cheers. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I'd say our paths crossed briefly at Doomsday this year.
Yeah.
As being the organiser, I was running around like a blue-arse fly, not having really the chance to sit down and talk to anybody at all for more than 5 minutes. So I think I did have a bit of a chat with you at one point, but I probably had about 10 pints of cider. So whatever I did say, I can't remember. Hence, I thought I would approach you for an interview. And obviously before, at Doomsday, your book hadn't been published at this point, had it?
No, I think it had been confirmed that I got the book deal with Wild Wolf Publishing, but I still didn't have a date for it at that point.
Wonderful. And so it was released earlier on this month, I believe. Was it 7th of July?
2nd of July.
2nd, okay.
Yeah, for the full moon.
Brilliant, of course. And how's it going? How's the book been received up to now?
All right, I think it's kind of annoying because there's no way for authors to track ebook sales on Amazon. You can track paperback and hardback, but not ebook. So until I get updates from my publisher, I don't really know the sales figures myself. But last I heard, I'd sold 43 in the first 2 weeks, which isn't bad for an unknown author. So I'm just at the point of marketing and trying to get the word out there.
Yeah. I mean, I know another author. She started selling physical copies of a book, but she did start out as a releasing a book as an ebook, and the only way she could really keep track of it was how far she was creeping up the fantasy charts on Amazon. That's the only way she could really keep track of how many sales she was getting.
I keep watching that, and then Amazon have kind of noticed I'm looking at my own books, so they actually suggested it to me the other day.
It's funny that Amazon's got like this is a bit psychic, isn't it? The way every time you log onto it, it seems to have read your mind and either preempt stuff or tries to flog you something that you've been thinking about.
Yeah.
Great. So for all our listeners then, do you want to give us a quick synopsis on what the book is about?
It follows the story of a teenage boy. He's pretty much your average teenager to begin with, but then he gets bitten as his first transformation into a werewolf. He learns that he might be the last werewolf alive. There's a group called the Demon Slayers, a secret human faction that are trying to wipe out all the undead. And it really explores the transformation from fairly average teenager to a monster he'd call himself by the end of the book, because the curse causes him to do some pretty horrific things, and he's really a different character by the end of the book.
Excellent. So it's definitely not Stephanie Meyer Twilight territory. I bet I bet that's one of your pet hate questions.
When Werewolf Publishing asked me if I had any suggestions for the cover, I was like, well, make sure it's horror and not Twilight crap.
Yeah. Because, obviously the success of things like Twilight did spawn a huge amount of vampire-based novels. And I think, obviously, with vampires, you've got the romantic element to it, the immortality and, multiple partners and the struggle between trying to live an immortal life and falling in love with mortals and all. But with werewolves, it is different territory, isn't it? Because you essentially, once you've transformed, you're not in control of your own actions. You are essentially just become a bloodthirsty animal intent on killing anything you can get your hands on, which isn't romantic.
Yeah. And in Hybrid, I kind of wanted to explore, because in most werewolf stories, when they sort of black out over the full moon, they wake up, they can't remember what they've done. I was kind of thinking, why is that? And I thought, well, with real personality disorders, people wake up with their hands bloody and they don't know where they've been. So I was like, well, what if it's a bit of a split personality? So you do get the character of his inner wolf as well as the his human side.
Yeah, so obviously he gets bitten by this wolf. So, but at first, is he, as you say, is he more sort of toiling with the fact that it could be a mental disorder as opposed to the legend of a werewolf? As it's set, I'm assuming it's set in modern times, current times, is it? Or
2003, because that's the year I started writing it. It's taken this long. But he does. When he wakes up after his first transformation, he's kind of like, he's got vague memories of turning, and then after that it's just a blackout and he thinks, I just must have been drunk or something. But he meets a vampire who he befriends. He meets her in chapter 2 while he's transformed, and then when he's human again, she sort of explains things to him, so he does kind of know what's happening, but because he's quite young and naive, and because wolves don't usually attack people, he thinks, well, I've got blood on my teeth, but it's probably just animals that I've eaten. So he's still very human at the beginning of the novel, even though elements of the wolf are creeping in. And then there's the real turning point in the book when he inevitably finds out that, no, he's been killing and eating people, and that's obviously going to have a psychological effect.
Yeah. So in the book then, do vampires and werewolves have a harmonious relationship? Have they kind of teamed up together because of obviously the demon slayers are hell bent on destroying the undead, or is there still a bit of kind of animosity between the two races?
In the first one, because it's going to be a series, Lady Sarah's the main vampire character. She's like from the medieval ages, and you do get the backstory in chapter 3 of I kind of explored like how werewolves might have started, and they kind of rose to be like the dominant race, and then there was a bit of infighting between werewolves and vampires, and then the demon slayers rose up in the midst of that and kind of killed a load of them, and the numbers fell, and humans sort of rose up again. So Lady Sarah kind of says that some vampires are still a bit... there is still a bit of animosity between them and werewolves, but she's one of the vampires that are more...
she's bridged the gap.
Yeah,
she's like kind of uniting them essentially to build, for strength, I suppose, as opposed to...
Yeah, she's one of the ones that recognised that they needed to ally if they were going to fight back against the demon slayers.
Yeah. So obviously influencers. I noticed when I asked you for your Skype tag, you said it was your actual World of Warcraft username. So, like me, you come from a geeky background. Pretty much. Pretty much, yeah. I was going to take the mickey and say "you geek," and then in brackets says the man who sat here actually painting miniatures while I'm actually replying to your Facebook message. So, obviously, coming from a geeky background, I'm assuming your sort of teenage years or your youth was spent, immersing yourself in fantasy and paranormal type subjects. Is that right?
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by it. I mean, I used to research werewolf mythology to the point of obsession, and there's some of that's crept into Hybrid. I've kind of taken some of my favourite myths and then some of my own ideas and come up with my own lore for it.
So, in terms of werewolf kind of mythology, then, do you think there's any basis for truth in some of the old legends in lycanthropy and that originate from? I suppose it goes back to the sort of the Middle Ages, doesn't it, when the stories started appearing, or do they actually predate that?
They're actually as old as mankind. They've found cave paintings depicting like animalistic humanoids, and all different cultures have myths about shape-shifting, and like you've got shaman that could believe they could shape-shift into animals, and I'd like to believe there's some truth to it, but science tells us that there isn't. So but
science can only tell us certain things. I don't know. It's not always right, and
that's true.
A lot of stuff does tend to, if it's implausible, it tends and can't be answered, it gets pushed out of the way as being nonsense. Which I don't know. I don't think that's from a scientific background myself. I think that's a bit of a lazy way of looking at things from a scientific perspective. Just to brush it to one side. So I did answer my own question, because as soon as you said it goes back to mankind began. Of course, you've got, even in like Egyptian mythology or Egyptian religion, should I say, like gods like Anubis, which is a dog-headed man. I'm trying to think. There was a story I read quite a long time ago about the Celts had a clan who've essentially like dog-headed, shape-shifting men around a loch. Have you heard of that one?
Don't think I have, actually.
I can't remember what it's called. It's I would have to probably link to it on the Mystic Menagerie web page. But there's quite a lot of Celtic legends of dog-headed men roaming around.
I'll have to look one up.
Yeah, because I suppose it ties in nicely with Dog Soldiers, which is quite a good film in that respect.
I remember that film. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's the good thing. One thing I really liked about that is the fact that the family knew that they had like this issue of being werewolves, so they isolated themselves in a cottage out in the middle of the Highlands of Scotland, so they wouldn't have any human contact.
Yeah,
and, lo and behold, the army go on patrol there.
It doesn't end well.
It doesn't. So, so you say you started the book back in 2003. So, that's well over a decade. So 12 years in order from. So was that the actual point you actually sat down, put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard or whatever you call it, and wrote, or did you let the story sort of develop as you wrote it, or did you already have the story from beginning to end mapped out in your head?
No, the way I write, I usually I'll have a kind of an idea of what I want to write about, and I'll just run with it, and then it'll just grow into whatever. But it started with my cousin Sarah, who the character Lady Sarah's named for, because her thing is vampires, so I gave her a vampire character.
Okay.
She'd done some short stories, which the idea was it had all the family in it, close family and friends, and as a kid I just loved that, because like I got to be a knight and my sister was a princess. And she got sick of me nagging for her to write more and to read it out all the time and stuff. So when I got to 15, she's like, right, Nick, you're about the age I was when I started, so why don't you write something? So we brainstormed the first 3 chapters together, and it was intended to be a short story like she'd done, but I just had all these ideas. I was like, actually, this is going to be a full-length novel. And then as it went on, it's like, actually, this is going to be a series. And I was just started thinking, I could get this published someday. And it's been the dream since then to get it published.
Brilliant. I mean, in terms of writing style, I mean, obviously any listeners that are listening to the podcast now who are budding authors, I mean, I myself, as soon as I reached 40, I was adamant that from the age of 40, I was going to start writing a book on the whole mummified fairy hoax account and all the things that entailed. But it's more difficult than you actually imagine. It's I find it quite, even though everything is in my head, actually trying to sort of get it out onto the paper so it makes sense and reads well is a lot harder than you would imagine. What's your sort of writing processes? Do you get up at a certain time of the day and sort of do 10 minutes a day, or do you just bash out as much as you can and then go back and edit it later?
It kind of depends. I write best when I'm in, I don't know, kind of, my brain's just in the right frame of mind for writing. It's my best stuff just comes out of nowhere, almost as if someone's like whispering in my ear, and all I'm doing is typing up what they're saying.
Yeah.
And like quite often late at night, I'll just be laid in bed trying to sleep, and my mind's just buzzing, and then suddenly something will just start writing itself, and it's like, oh, I'm going to have to get up and write this down, because if I try and remember it in the morning, it just won't be worded as good.
Yeah.
But to try and get into that frame of mind, I do tend to put a few tracks on that I've got in my music. I just find certain things will just like sort of preempt that. Like there's a metal band called Powerwolf that I discovered, and they're kind of a gothic feel to them, and I just find the listening to them really helps me kind of get in that frame of mind. And some metal power ballads as well. They'll just sort of, I don't know, it'll just like get the words flowing.
Yeah, it's almost like a soundtrack to what you're writing, essentially, while you're writing it.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, I don't know, from what I've written up to now, I've written a preface and sort of halfway through chapter 1, and it's one of those things I would say that I need perfect silence. However, I've written 80% of what I've written at soft play when I've taken the kids there. They go run riot, and I'm sat down with about 600 kids around me and a cup of coffee. And my brain, as you say, it just needs to be in a certain place. Obviously, I think lying in the bath is one place where, or having a shower, lots of ideas come into my head when I'm doing that. Because it's almost as if
I do find sometimes when I'm in the shower as well, someone will start writing itself, so maybe there's something in that.
I think it's like, you say, like when you're in bed or when you're in the shower, it's automatically at a point where your body's relaxed and it's open to relaxation. I think it must just unlock a certain part of the creative mind, and then out floods all of the ideas that have been sort of building up subconsciously all day. Maybe, I'm not sure, but that seems to be the way it works for me.
Yeah.
So how many publishers did you approach? Did you approach them once the book was actually finished, or had you kind of sent excerpts from the book to them as you were writing it, or was it just a kind of, hi, here I am, I'm Nick, this is my book Hybrid, what do you think, type thing?
I waited until I was ready to send it out. I finished the first draft of it kind of between finishing school and starting college, but I was aware that it really needed a redraft before I did anything with it. So it was pretty much sat on my computer through college while I was busy being a student, and I didn't really touch it at that point.
No.
And then I came back to it once I finished college. I was like more serious about being published again. So I gave it the much needed redraft, and then before I sent it out anywhere, I actually did a lot of research into the publishing process, because I was kind of thinking, well, it's so easy to self-publish these days, and if you self-publish, then all the royalties go to you. You don't have a publisher and an agent taking a cut. But it is obviously more work if you do that, because you've got to sort the cover out yourself, and you've got to get out there. If you get it as an ebook, you can get it out pretty easy on places like Amazon and Smashwords.
Yeah.
But if you want a physical copy in bookstores, which is what I'm hoping Werewolf Publishing will do for me eventually, it's harder work, I think, to get it in places like Waterstones and Smiths. So what I did in the end, decided to go down the traditional route, as they call it, which is usually find an agent and then they find you a publisher.
Yeah.
And I must have sent off to at least a dozen agencies. I can't remember the exact number, and I was getting a lot of rejection letters. And most of them will just pretty much give you a standard "sorry, not for us," which isn't particularly helpful. And then a friend recommended Wild Wolf Publishing to me because he knew somebody else who'd been published through them, and he said she'd had a really good experience with them, and he said, they specialise in horror, you should send them your novel and they'll love it. So I was like, okay, then I'll give them a try. And their initial response was revise and resubmit, but they did give me an indication of what they were looking for. They said they needed to get the tone right because in places it was too young adult, and in places it was more adult, and they said you need to make it consistent.
Yeah.
So that was at the start of this year, so I then had an intensive month of doing the final redraft, and then when I resubmitted, they loved it, and things happened pretty quickly after that.
Wow, okay, great. So as you say, it's up on Amazon now, and it's the Kindle edition it's only $1.99, which is great. I mean, obviously, it's the ability on Kindle, just to get your work out there for literally less than a pint. It's brilliant, isn't it? Because it just means it's so accessible to new people. A lot of people are more open to spending a few pounds on a book than they are £8 or £9 for a physical hard copy. Waterstones.
Yeah, it is. I think there's a lot of discussion about ebooks. Like you get the old-fashioned people that prefer actual printed copies, but I think ebooks are a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's one thing I'm not sure which route I'd like to go down if possible. As you say, it's a great foot in the door, and you can gauge its popularity, and then later down the line, you can get your ISBN number, and then start. Do the publishing house Wealth Publishing do physical copies as well of books?
Yeah, they've said they're trialing it as an ebook, and then I think they said they usually at the 3-month point they'll discuss how sales are doing and make a decision whether the interest is there for a paperback or not. But I assume if after the first 3 months, if they decide not to bring out a paperback, I assume that if it's only picked up, they might look at it again. But I am hoping they will bring out paperback for me, because I really want a physical copy I can hold in my hand and say, this is my book.
Yeah. It must be, the more I've sort of started writing myself, the more I've actually seen how close it is to any other form of creative art. I don't know, I've started writing mine in sort of modules in no sort of set order. So it's almost like writing music in a way on a computer system. So using Cubase or Logic, where I'm writing verses and choruses, but for the book. And then I've not actually come to a point where I want to use them yet, but I'll see where they'll slot in later on. And it's the creative process is it's hard work, but to actually have your sort of work in the end as a published book must be, a hell of an accomplishment. It's almost like, I don't know, having holding a record, a pressed record of your own music or something. It's
it's really rewarding, especially as I'm getting reviews now and people are saying that they've loved it. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, I mean, you're on I can see it's 4.5 stars out of 5 on Amazon at the moment.
Yeah,
you're getting all the positive reviews. So I'd encourage any listeners to the Mystic Menagerie podcast to go over to Amazon and look up Hybrid, and of course I'd encourage you to all buy a copy as well. Buy several copies. And
yes, please.
So you're relatively young. I don't get the impression you're very old. I would say, I don't know, you say you finished university and stuff, so you're in your 20s. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm 27 now.
There you go. Psychic. How's that? So 27. So, it's a good age to sort of get your first book out, because you've got so much time ahead of you to start writing. I feel like I'm writing against the clock now, and I'm in my 40s. But so you've obviously see the scope for a series of books. So have you already started writing the next book in the Hybrid series?
Yeah, I did mean to get it finished 2 years ago and then last year, and it's not happened. But now I've actually got the first one published. It is motivated me to like really crack on with it. I'm finding with the second one it's been a little bit harder to write. It's I don't know, I've got to sort of the halfway point and then I keep messing with the beginning because it just doesn't seem right, and I do have an ending in mind, but my brain hasn't figured out yet how to get from like the midway point to the end. So I kind of need to work out what needs to happen in the second half, but I kind of have ideas for how the plot's going to play out as a series, but I don't have every book mapped out yet because, as I said, that's not really how I write.
No.
Like you said about doing like modules almost like with music. I kind of get that as well. I'll just get like a scene will come to me and I might not know exactly where it fits, but I know it goes somewhere, so I'll write it down and then it'll just sort of slot in eventually. What else I've written.
So obviously you reach a point then, obviously with the second book, where it sounds like you've hit a bit of a writer's block in certain aspects. How do you cope with writer's block? What things do you do other than listening to music? Do you get kind of unlock new ideas? Is there somewhere you go, or do you do certain things, or do you just wait until the idea comes to you?
I have been just kind of waiting for it to come to me, but I'm kind of aware now that I do need to get book 2 written ASAP, really. So hopefully if things take off with Hybrid, then there'll be the demand from the fans. So, I don't know, so sometimes just going for a while, like in Huddersfield where I live, there's a lot of scenic walks around here. You've got the views of the valley and whatnot, and I find that sometimes will trigger something in my head. Sometimes reading other people's work will help get me inspired. And sometimes TV, sometimes just being out and about and people watching, like you might just overhear something and you just think, oh, that's a great character, I could use that somewhere, and that can help inspire something. I think having a creative mind, it's difficult sometimes to actually switch off from being creative. I mean, I always find that if I take a break from the normal routine, so obviously I'm in the studio nearly every day, if I go away for, I don't know, for example, I went to Glastonbury this year. I went there and I came back almost sort of, I'd formatted my brain, and it was ready to load in new ideas, and new ideas kind of flooded in again. So it's almost like, that's cool. Yeah, it's like cleaning out a room that's getting too full. And you can get too many ideas where you just can't see clear enough to actually pick a single idea out that you want to use. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I've spoken to quite a few authors, and everyone operates and works in so many different ways. So I'm sure it's interesting for our listeners to see how obviously other creative minds get in gear and start writing. So I mean, if you start writing sort of in 2003, that kind of predates then all of the Twilight bullshit that we spoke about earlier. Yeah. So how did you feel then when you saw all of this kind of werewolf and vampire, all these vampire and werewolf novels suddenly spring out? Because there was one point where you would go into any sort of high street bookstore, and the shelves would be just chock-a-block full of various vampire novels, various werewolf novels. Did you kind of feel a bit shit? Like, it's not like you've been pipped to the post, but someone's stepping on your turf, and before you've had a chance to step on it, if you know what I mean. Yeah, part of me did wish I'd got Hybrid out sooner, but a lot of it now is just bloody paranormal romance because of the Twilight stuff, and oh my god, I did watch the first Twilight knowing werewolves came into it at some point, I admit that, and I'm just like, what is this? Vampires that sparkle in the sunlight, like what? And it's just that girl moping around. This is the most boring thing ever, and then it gets to the end and there's no werewolves in the first one. I'm like, great, that's 2 hours of my life I just wasted. Yeah, well, I've wasted more than that because my wife has dragged me along to all of the Twilight films, and I can honestly say it's been one of the worst experiences of my life, and I've had some pretty horrific experiences. But I suppose
the area you're breaking new ground is that those types of young reader type books, they are, as you say, romance based. They're aimed at female teenagers. So, and yours is aimed at, I'm assuming, male and female adults. Is that correct?
Yeah, Amazon have put me in the young adult category, but I really intended it for it to be for adults. I think just because my main character is a teenager, but that's purely because that was the age I started writing it, and the main character is pretty much me at 15 at the start of the book, but then he's like really different by the end. But I do feel that it explores the werewolf legend to a new depth, because I did really try and like explore what impact the curse might have on a person. And it is set over the course of a year, so it is like a gradual change that it goes through. And I think there are a lot of adult themes in it, even though Amazon have put me in the young adult category. I had to laugh. Amazon US, Amazon.com have put me in kids' scary stories.
Oh, God, okay.
But it's very gory, and I'm like, if any parents buy it for kids, I hope they complain, because that'll be great publicity.
Yeah, kids' scary stories. That's a strange one. I suppose that the way of categorizing things over the US is slightly different, though. So, it'd be interesting to see how, once a few people have read it, what the reviews come out like. When they've read it to their 6-year-old kid as a bedtime story. So, what is your? I suppose this is probably a very run-of-the-mill question, but favourite werewolf movie?
I think American Werewolf in London is still the best transformation, even though it might be a bit dated now. Just the way they did the transformation for its time, I think it's just awesome.
It is. It's an amazing film. I mean, I can remember watching that. Well, probably when when did it come out? 1981 or something? Something ridiculous. Something like I remember watching it probably from about the age of 8. Apart from obviously the Jenny Agutter shower scene, which the video player kind of the tape wore out around that point because me and my mate kept rewinding it. But there's so much scope for the American Werewolf in London story for a prequel, for actually where the werewolf actually came from in the first place. And I don't think that's ever been done, has it?
No, that would be cool.
Because I think that's the most mysterious thing about it, is that they go out onto the Yorkshire moors, they go to the slaughtered lamb, and everyone is aware there's a werewolf in the area. And you almost get the impression that they all know who it is as well, because they're it's almost like the whole village is congregated in that pub for one night for safety. And the one villager who they know the werewolf is out doing his rounds, and he's kind of said, well, if you all stay in the pub tonight, you're all going to be safe, because I ain't going to go anywhere near it. I'm just going to be out roaming around eating sheep. And there's just so much scope there for a prequel movie. So there you go. You could write the screenplay for the prequel to American Werewolf in London. So
yeah, I could try that.
Yeah, an American Werewolf in Huddersfield, or actually, it's not an American werewolf, is it? It's actually an English werewolf in Huddersfield, or somewhere near the Yorkshire moors.
The first time I went down to London, I was like, I'm a Yorkshire werewolf in London, and everybody's just like, nah, Nick, you don't have the same ring to it.
Okay. The follow-up to American Werewolf in Paris was dire. Did you see that one? Yeah,
I remember being disappointed with that.
I think I was receptive about it up until the bungee jump off the Eiffel Tower. And I was like, what? The Eiffel Tower is kind of, it bows out, so how could you bungee jump from the very top of it? Because you'd just you'd smash yourself to pieces on the way down. It was terrible. Did you see? What did you think of the Wolfman, the remake? Did you watch that? The one that was filmed at Chatsworth in Derbyshire.
Yeah, I thought the plot was good, but I would have liked them to. I know they kept the look of the original Wolfman to pay homage to it, I guess, but I would have preferred them to use today's technology to create a more wolfish werewolf. I am quite fussy with my werewolves. I like them to be wolfish.
I like my werewolves wolfy. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it was the sort of the Hammer horror werewolf, which is essentially a man with an underbite with hairy cheeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That, it doesn't quite make a werewolf. It just makes as I say, almost looks like Oddbod out of Carry On Screaming. You're not quite a werewolf. So, did you? Obviously, have you seen The Company of Wolves?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's. I would say
that's quite a strange one, isn't it?
It is, but I think in terms of transformation scenes, that's probably got the best one I've ever seen, and the most original one as well. With the wolf coming out of the actual man's mouth.
Yeah. It's been ages since I watched it, but yeah, I remember it.
It does leave itself kind of a bit open-ended though, because if every time you turn into a werewolf, a physical wolf is going to come out of your mouth and literally rip all your flesh off, how do you turn back into a human?
Yeah.
I know it's kind of, obviously it's magical and stuff, but the good thing about being a bog standard werewolf is you just grow bigger and get hairier and your clothes tear off and you wake up naked in the woods. However, if you're going to go down the Company of Wolves route where the wolf is actually going to literally rip out of your mouth, then you're going to have issues, getting your skin back and also in a decent condition.
Yeah. I don't think it ever shows how he turns back to human, does it?
No. So have you got anything planned then for the rest of the year regarding promotion of the book, or are you appearing anywhere, or is there somewhere that you're going to be sort of, as I say, promoting Hybrid?
I hope to do some stuff this year.
Will we see you at Doomsday again this year?
Yeah, I hope to be at Doomsday again. I am hopefully going to be at Huddersfield Literary Festival, but that's not till March next year.
Right, okay.
I'm in the process of looking for events I can attend to help promote it and that, because I wasn't under the illusion that fans would just come to me, but I was hoping to have had more than 43 sales through friends and family, because I've got so many different circles of friends. I just kind of hoped if they could all get the word out for me, then I could get at least 100 sales through friends and family. But that hasn't happened, so it's kind of a wake-up call that I really have to do the work myself. And Werewolf Publishing are a small publisher, so I get a bit of support from them, but not much. A lot of it is down to me.
Yeah, I know what you mean about the whole. I mean, you're lucky because my friends nor family buy anything I do, so they just look at my stuff and think there's no way I'm going to buy that. So in that respect, you're quite lucky. So at least someone is buying your stuff. But I think anything along these lines, you do need some form of potentially like guerrilla marketing, really. So I think once we finish this interview, I do have a guerrilla marketing idea which had boiling away for a few years, which I kind of conjured up with my ex-window cleaner who used to be a male stripper. But it's a long story. It doesn't involve male stripping, but it does involve werewolves. So off air, I will divulge the potential of this thing for you, and it might be something you could stitch Hybrid onto, and it might.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
Cheers,
it might help. I'm sure our listeners are intrigued as well, but I really can't tell you. But Anyway, I'm not going to go into any more because I've just dig myself a big pit. So, where can our listeners? Obviously, they can find your book on Amazon. Is it on Amazon US as well? Yeah, it is.
It's on all Amazon sites. I've got my own website. I've got hybridseries.co.uk, which is purely about the book. And that has a link to buy it. It works internationally, so if people from the US click it will take them to amazon.com rather than .co.uk. And then I have my author site, which is nick-stead.co.uk, and that's got some of my short stories on you can read for free.
Okay.
As well as links to buy Hybrid.
Brilliant. Okay, well, as I say, I encourage our listeners to go out and buy a copy of Hybrid and hopefully leave you a sterling review on the Amazon site. So I'd like to thank you, Nick, for taking the time out to talk to the Mystic Menagerie today, and I wish you all the best with Hybrid.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me. It's been good.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Cheers.
This is the story of two young American students traveling through England on a night of the full moon.
Did you hear that? I heard that. What was it? Could be a lot of things.
Fate let one live.
That lunatic must have been a very fierce fellow.
Wasn't a lunatic.
What?
A wolf.
Oh, be serious, would you?
And now everything is changing. Changing.
Good Lord.
John Landis, the brilliant young director of Animal House and the Blues Brothers, has turned a classic tale of terror into something new. Something different.
And yes, we're back again, and thank you for listening. This is another show. It's our 11th show, so we've got 11 in the bag altogether now. So, yeah, it's been quite an interesting show, and thanks for listening. So, it's been a good one, hasn't it, Dan, this time?
It has, yeah. It's been lots of fun. I've sort of discovered quite a few bits and bobs. I've been enjoying the Alton Towers connection, as it's quite close to my heart. I go there quite regularly, and to find out there's something real and eerie lurking in the woods is quite interesting. So I can't wait to go and photograph it and get the pictures up on the Mystic Menagerie page I'm going there in 2 weeks' time. So
brilliant.
Yeah, so that's going to be good.
Yep, I look forward to seeing those. That should be interesting as well, you know what I mean? So it could be a very special. Try and get pictures of the actual chains if you can. I mean, if they're not buried enough, that'd be quite interesting to see those, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would, yeah. And
chains, so yeah.
Yeah, and to say, anyone who wants to have a copy of my tutorial on how to age photographs and documents, then all you need to do is back us on Patreon, and if you're already an existing backer, then we'll send you a link through to that private video tutorial shortly, and ye shall be enlightened.
Yes, you shall have age documents and a photographs, whatever you like.
Yes, and so we've already sort of getting our heads together for the next show, so we should have some interesting features and topics to cover, and if this weather keeps up, then I might have to find somewhere else to record the podcast, because it's getting a little bit toasty up here.
Yeah, you're lucky because it's raining where I am, actually.
Is it? All right. It's always sunny down in Kent.
Oh, yeah, lucky, see.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to the Mystic Menagerie, and we will see you again next month for another show.
Yep, next month. Have a good month, and we shall see you again.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.